Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's Wednesday, October 11th. And guess what? We got some guys off the injury report. I talked about yesterday, we had to do some things with some guys in IR. Well, they're off IR. As always, Sam Flannel joining me alongside my partner in crime, JB, in the audio booth holding it down for us, the GOAT, the Brian Branch of this show, the man who plays slot corner, safety, play just strictly corner, and no drop-off in production. That's JB for you.
Just put me in, coach.
And just put me in. Let me cook, coach. And then we have Lucas Klotz back. Thank goodness, man. Lucas Klotz is back on the show.
Happy to be back in the saddle, boys.
Let's go. We're fired up. Got a lot planned for today. We're going to hit you with some Lions news, some Lions updates here because they just signed a couple players. And then, of course, we'll get into a lot more. Detroit Kool-Aid, a.k.a. Brandon Dent, joining us at 8:15. I'm going to get to the bottom of this, Jay Ivey coming off the bench stuff. All right, I know you've been seeing it getting reported. Monty Williams is experimenting with some things in the preseason. So I want Kool-Aid to answer everything for us. All the Pistons fans who are probably just as confused as I am. We'll get answers. 8:15, 8:30. I do want to bring up an interesting stat about the Detroit Lions, which I think gives us another sign that the way they play is similar to a top team in the NFL. 8:45, we'll talk about Aleem McNeil. I'm taking the stand today. All right, I'll take the stand. I'll take the stand today on Aleem McNeil. That's at 8:45. So people, if you want to hear that, stick around. 9 o'clock, we'll take phone calls. I'm expecting a man named Ted to call the show, and Ted is a 90-plus-year-old Lions fan, and I want to talk to him. So hopefully we get him through the phone lines.
Man has seen it all.
Yeah, he has.
Even probably the 1950 World Championships.
Yeah, he's got a perspective that none of us have combined. So we're gonna talk to Ted at 9 o'clock, and then of course 9:16. We'll talk about some potential trade offers, trade deals, and then we'll get into all that and much more. But for right now, I want to get you guys some Lions news. At least recently, yesterday Lions announced the releasing of Darius Phillips, cornerback, and wide receiver Trey Quinn. Wow, Trey Quinn.
It's your boy.
Yeah. Wow, my soul hurts for Trey Quinn from the practice squad, and signed Anthony Averett. Is that how you pronounce it? Averett, okay. Anthony Averett and tight end Anthony Ferkser?
I thought it was Frisker. Honestly, unless it's a different player, I think they spelled that wrong.
I was going to say, I thought it was Frisker, the tight end from
Do the Lions
Tennessee.
really have a spelling error there?
Yeah.
Is that true?
I mean, it could be another player, but me and JB are on lockstep here. There's a tight end that used to play for the Titans named Anthony Frisker.
All right, regardless, two Anthonys. We'll just call them that. Anthony Square. They bring in both those guys to the practice squad for some depth there. Of course, after losing Emmanuel Mosley, they bring in some cornerback depth. Reaction to it, Lucas. You know more about players that nobody knows about. Tell me about what you know about these guys.
I'm not really excited about the Anthony Frisker signing, but I love the Anthony Averett signing. I think he's a great depth piece. We talk about guys, and I'm not saying that Chase Lucas is bad. Like, I love what Chase Lucas is doing on special teams, but when you bring a guy like Anthony Averett back, who was played in Baltimore, he's a man-to-man corner, who's been a great depth piece for them when their defense is really buzzing. So I think the fact that now we have another man-to-man corner that is a veteran in this league, that I don't think he's a bum by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think he's going to be a star, but he's definitely going to be a great plug-and-play piece with Emmanuel Mosley being out. Once he kind of gets acclimated, I don't think they're going to keep him on the practice squad for long.
Yeah, it's good to have more experience in the secondary. I mean, besides Cam Sutton, you look around and some of the guys they have out already. I mean, you're relying on some younger players, Jerry Jacobs, Brian Branch. They bring in another guy that they can rely on. I see this one, John Henry, bring Jenkins in. You see that? They're real? I cooked up for Booner there to put up. And Rabbit advertising himself to the Detroit Lions.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is. Danny G says Gilmore definitely needs some time to develop. Yeah, Stephen Gilmore I'm kind of interested in as well. And they have him, but he's also, a rookie, undrafted free agent. So, I think he needs a little more time. Your guys are right. Jonas has stopped the guy who's 34 years old, talking about Janoris Jenkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to – and listen, got a lot of respect for Janoris Jenkins, what he did in this league, but he's got to update the resume. This Janoris Jenkins at his age right now, I don't think is something the Lions are interested in. Great player, had a great career. Just don't think it makes sense for the Lions right now. That's all I'm saying. Good morning to all the people in the chat. I see Shane D. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Shane D. Eric Galen joining us. Mike Reed, Steve Brown, Dan Wood. Chuck Brewer says, here's to a great show. Jeff and Sam, all positive. Mike Bell, good morning to you. He says, good morning, gang. Jeff finally taking accountability.
There we go.
There you go. We'll discuss that later. Danny G, good morning to you guys. Jordan, Hoof Hearted, all the guys that are in here every single morning. So I wanted to spend some time here, and at least before we get into the Lions stuff, kind of talk about some things that have been happening around the NFL, at least to my knowledge. Thursday Night Football tomorrow, and we'll be talking more about that. And these Thursday night games, I don't know if you're excited for this one, Sam, because your Chiefs are playing.
Well, your Broncos are playing, Jeff.
Yeah.
Your Broncos.
Okay,
your
yeah.
AFC West could potentially win. Broncos.
Yeah, well,
Broncos Nation, let's ride.
I didn't think they'd win their division, but I thought they'd win 10 games. So, hey, that's on me. Hey, I thought they'd win 10 games. I believed in the Sean Payton effect. To be fair, his job is to fix Russell Wilson, and to some extent, he's not playing terrible, but their defense is awful, and, part of that is on Russell, but the whole team's a disaster. Now they're selling off everybody, apparently.
Yeah, it's just
like Surtain's available. I don't even know.
You guys see that the Bears are trading away vets, too? They said they're going to try to trade away any vet that they could, which I don't know who's a vet that they have. That's desirable, but
I was going to say, okay, interesting.
I think everybody's starting to part ways with vets. I think it's that time of the year.
Yeah, it's that type of thing. Because, again, you start to kind of know how the season's going by now. Like, the Lions 4-1, we know what they are. If you're the Denver Broncos, you kind of know what you are. You're not going to make the playoffs.
No.
So, you start looking into the future there. Big Play Jay says, Jeff, you forgot about Big Play Jay. Well, my bad, Big Play Jay. Good morning to you. I want to bring that up, too, for a specific reason, at least for the Chiefs. And I want to get Lucas's opinion on this because me and Sam duked it out yesterday, all right, in a very friendly manner. And me and him have some disagreements, which is great because that's what makes this show. We have a lot of disagreements. And one of those disagreements is where the Lions rank in the NFL. I believe they're better than the Chiefs. You do not believe they're better than the Chiefs. We have not been able to speak to Lucas on this and get his opinion. Lucas, and we didn't get to get your top 10. I know you put it in the chat yesterday for everybody, but your opinion on kind of where the Lions rank up in a top 10 scenario. Where would you put them? Who would you put them over?
I would put them at 4. I think I had the Niners, then I had the Dolphins, and I had the Eagles, and then I had the Lions, and I had the Chiefs as my top 5. I think I might have put the Chiefs over them if they didn't look that way against the Vikings, but still, I think the Chiefs right now, you could compare them a lot to the Eagles, where it's just like they're missing Bieniemy, and I think their offense kind of looks. They definitely do not look bad. You have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce on a bum ankle, still scoring 2 touchdowns, but their offense just kind of looks a little like they look a little behind the 8 ball compared to what they used to. Their defense better than anybody expected, but that team is built on the offense. So I think that their offense is lagging a little bit. The Lions are in peak form right now. Like, the Lions have just dominated their last 3 opponents. You can't say that about the Chiefs. And it's not like the Lions. Obviously, they just played the Panthers, who probably going to be a terrible team for the rest of the season, but they dominated them. I haven't really seen the Chiefs dominate anybody except the Bears, and anybody in the NFL can do that.
All right, so
I'm just letting them cook. I'm not.
No, I mean,
what do you got, Sam?
Here's the thing. For the record, me putting the Lions at number 5, if any people think that that's me being a hater, that's insane, because the Lions are definitely a top 5 team in the NFL. But the Kansas City Chiefs, here's where I put them ahead. And I will admit it. They do deserve the benefit of the doubt more than any team in the NFL, more than any franchise in the NFL in the last 5 years. And that plays a small part in it. But they are 4-1. Despite not having looked as good, they still bounce back from that loss to the Lions with 2 of their 3 best players out and have won their last 4. Patrick Mahomes has more touchdown passes than Jared Goff. I think they have a quarterback advantage over the Lions. I think they have a head coaching advantage over the Lions. And I think everybody in this room would agree, maybe not the chat, but in this particular room, if you were to call Patrick Mahomes a top 5 quarterback ever right now, is that a stretch? Is that a reach?
Nope.
Absolutely not. And I would say he is still in his prime. This is the best defense he has ever played with. And Chris Jones is playing the best football of his career despite holding out through 1 game of the season. And Isaiah Pacheco has produced at a level that no running back has produced with Patrick Mahomes at the quarterback and Andy Reid as head coach. So to me, that is a formula for the Kansas City. You guys are acting like the Chiefs are 3-2 or something like that. They're 4-1.
No,
they are.
I had to bounce back and forth, but I was just going off strictly the eye test, and I'm not saying that the Chiefs look bad on the eye test, but I think the Lions just off the eye test look slightly better. That's all it is for me.
Speaking of the eye test, what do you guys think about the 49ers and everybody else in the NFC? Because I don't know what the heavyweights discussed specifically yesterday. I know Easy's been trying to make a case that, and I don't want to misquote him, but the Lions and the 49ers are built in a similar way, therefore, and we'll get to this later in the show. Do you think at least to me, and I'll say this, and I've been consistent with this, the 49ers to me are in the tier 1 by themselves. Does anybody else agree with that?
Yeah, I don't.
Do you think the Eagles or anybody else or the Lions or anybody are even close to that tier? I think everyone else is in tier 2, kind of. The top dogs in the NFC.
I agree with Easy's statement that the Lions and 49ers are built similarly, but I still think the 49ers just have that top tier talent at damn near every position.
He didn't say that the Lions could beat them. He didn't just confidently say that. I didn't watch the take. I gotta go and re-listen.
No, but I think in the NFC, the Lions would give the 49ers the toughest time.
Yeah, them or Philly, probably.
I would say Philly, but I think just the 49ers would eat Philly alive in the secondary.
And that's fair.
I don't see a chance.
I'm telling you, the Eagles, to me, I smell, and I gotta watch here because they made the Super Bowl last year. I get that, but I smell something fishy with the Eagles. All right, I do. I don't fully trust that secondary. I think the Eagles last year looked unbeatable. And they had, of course, 2 coordinators that became head coaches. But this year, it doesn't feel like the same Eagles. They replaced Hargraves with Jalen Carter, which is amazing. But that secondary's shaky. And then DeAndre Swift has been getting 15 to 20 carries a game. I'm curious how that holds up throughout the year. We'll see if he makes it through. But regardless, new offense, new defense, of course, but there's more weaknesses than they had last year. I think the playing field between the Lions and the Eagles, it's much more fair this year.
That is 100% fair on your part. And this is where a lot of people might get mad, but I think this is a completely fair statement. There are a lot of people in the chat and even in this room, and I get it, we're all Lions fans and we're excited, that have more questions about the Eagles than the Lions. And I think that's a little bit crazy because the Eagles just went to the Super Bowl last year. They are 5-0. Jalen Carter has been playing better than Javon Hargraves ever did. DeAndre Swift is balling out. A.J. Brown is having one of the best years of his career.
Just hearing that. DeAndre Swift is balling out.
He is balling out.
He is.
I know.
Jeff,
I'm not saying he's not.
It's just making him cringe.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's just gross to hear.
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're lying.
Who has more rushing yards, DeAndre Swift or David Montgomery? I know we'll get more to that later, but I'm just saying. Facts are mean, guys. Facts are mean.
Hold on.
That's facts. Facts are mean. Facts are mean.
David Montgomery didn't play a game.
Okay.
DeAndre Swift also missed it. He didn't miss a game, but he barely played a game. So that's fair.
But when DeAndre Swift misses games, it's like, oh my God, he's made of glass. When David Montgomery misses, when Jahmyr Gibbs misses, it's like, oh, they missed a game. What do you expect him to do? So I'm just saying, if you're gonna knock DeAndre Swift for missing games with the Lions, you gotta put a small knock to David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. You know what? I was expecting to have a happy, fun show, and now I probably already made the people mad because
no. Facts. Listen, we'll have that conversation later. Right. I'll take the guy who's been has hit pay dirt more often, but you know what? It's okay. I know how you feel about DeAndre. You've been consistent. That was your guy to lead the NFC in rushing last year, so I get it.
Okay, but I'm not just going to be blind to the fact that he hasn't had the best season of his career by a mile.
Oh, he has, but
at least at the pace.
Yeah, but the floor for that was, 600 yards.
Sure.
That's his best season of his career.
No, and that's why.
So I get what you're saying, but okay.
And that is why I was perfectly happy with him being gone. What have I said more than anyone at this network probably combined? His career high in rushing yards for a season with the Lions was 617. In 3 seasons, that is completely unacceptable. But the fact that he's kind of found new life in Philadelphia, it doesn't affect the Lions at all. I'm just saying that, and this all started with the fact that people are just sleeping on and dismissing the Eagles, I think is absurd at this point in the season. I would say the only people who have regressed even a little bit are Jalen Hurts, which is fair, and I think not having Shane Steichen has hurt him, and the secondary. And
Flannel, and I'm not everything you just said is not wrong, but when I go look at it, I'm looking at who the Eagles played too, and then who the Eagles still have to play. The Eagles, their wins are over the Vikings, meh, Patriots, meh, Buccaneers, very solid. I'm not going to take that away from them, but that's not an elite win in my opinion. Commanders, they won by 3, meh. And then the Rams, meh. They still have to play the Dolphins in 2 weeks, the Cowboys twice, the Chiefs, the Bills, the 49ers, and the Seahawks.
Wow.
So, and no, not the Ravens too. That's towards the end. So they have they have a brutal schedule coming up. So that's why it's just like, I see the Eagles are looking good, but I'm not sold on them yet. Like Jeff, they got to play somebody legitimate and beat them convincingly, in my opinion. At least like a division rival. Like they played the Commanders and beat them in overtime on a field goal. You know, the Commanders lost to the Bears.
And for this one, let's see. Chef Talks, NFL. The Eagles aren't being slept on, Sam. Eye test tells us there's something a bit off.
Okay, but that's where the eye test, I think, is a little bit flawed because they're still 5-0. And I get it. It may play out.
So you would have said when the Steelers were 11-0 that team's winning the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Well,
I wouldn't have said that. What are we even talking about right now? I'm just saying that.
I'm just saying the records are undefeated.
Okay, and
it's time they were undefeated.
Okay, and it played out that they lost.
They were frauds because the eye test told me they were frauds.
Okay, but the Eagles were in the Super Bowl last year. The Eagles are way better at this point than the Steelers were. I mean, everybody could see that the Steelers were frauds that year.
Oh, so now okay, all right. But things change year to year though, Sam. They made the Super Bowl.
And you know what?
Where are they right now?
And you know what?
They're undefeated, but that team, I smell something fishy, Sam. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, and you know what? It might all play out that way because that schedule is brutal. And you know what? That might even pave the way for the Lions to get the 2 seed.
That's what I was just about to say.
It might.
It will.
Okay.
I think it will because the
fair.
Lions, the toughest game coming up is probably Baltimore. Then they got the Chargers, and then they got Dallas. Eagles have to play Dallas twice. They got the fucking Dolphins, 49ers, and Bills. That's a gauntlet.
Yeah, the Lions have like one of the easiest schedules in the entire NFL. I believe it's 31st. I have to double check that. Brother told us yesterday.
I believe you're right. The 31st.
It's bad.
It's yeah.
I think the only test they really have, like you said, is like on the road at Baltimore, but they're not like Baltimore. They're good, but it's not like you're going on the road to the 49ers or you're going on the road to Buffalo or anything like that. You also go on the road to the Chargers, which, Brandon Staley, I would assume that's a W. And then you go on the road later to Dallas, and that's probably the toughest left.
I'm excited for that game.
Yeah, me too.
If the Lions...
I can't wait.
If the Lions can look like the 49ers, I'm not saying to the same extent, but like a 35-14 game...
Sam, what would you do?
I don't even know if I need a Super Bowl.
What would you do if Dak Prescott craps the bed again, like later in the season? Because he said he's not going to have double-digit interceptions. He's already on track to do that and more.
All right, so why am I the designated Dak Prescott defender?
Hey, we've gotten into some debates, Sam, and you've had your guy Dak's back. I'm just saying.
I mean, people act like he's the 32nd best quarterback in the NFL or something like that.
I would say that's
my one problem.
Where would you put him right now?
Probably like in the 15 range or something like that.
Oh, actually, that's fair.
Yeah,
he hasn't been good. All right.
The last couple seasons, he's been awful.
I was going to say back half. I was going to say back half
like
of the NFL. Okay.
I'm more fair
Dak
than
sucks.
you people think. Like, it's ridiculous the way people are going at me in the chat right now. You know what? I'm not even going to read you guys because you guys are just...
I love it. All right, let's go to break here. When we get back, we'll talk to Detroit Kool-Aid, a.k.a. Brandon Dent, the beat reporter for Woodward Sports, covers the Detroit Pistons. We'll talk more about the Jaden Ivey coming off the bench narrative and what that means for the Pistons and more. But first, we got to hear about our friends over at Lady Jane's.
Absolutely.
Sam, talk to me.
Absolutely. Come to Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, and you can get a haircut just like I got, of course, because that's what you all want. And for an award-winning haircut experience, register to win a trip of your dreams and all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's right, no expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
And then after you get your haircut, you head over to Les Stanford because, listen, I just got a new car over there. They took care of me, gave me the best deal possible because they'll match it. And you go to Les Stanford and listen, the same great service that customers have come to know and trust. This location specifically on Woodward Avenue and just south of 9 Mile. Check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today. Find the brand you want at lesstanford.com. We'll see you guys right after the break.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Downtown's newest sports bar has 13 TrackMan simulator, certified instructors, and most importantly, full bar and restaurant. If you're like me and you stink, I just go over there, play bad, and then go over to the bar and restaurant. I mean, it's still a good time. Or if you're really good, like Michael Gentry or Neil Rule or some of these other guys that play golf, then you go over there, you play with your buddies, maybe you bring a female. You know, you can do anything at 5-Iron. They'll take care of you. Head over to 5irongolf.com. Use code Woodward10 for 30% off the league they currently have on Thursdays. That is 5irongolf.com to sign up. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We have a special guest joining us, the man, the myth, the one and only, the man who covers the Detroit Pistons for Woodward Sports, Detroit Kool-Aid, a.k.a. Brandon Dent.
Yes,
welcome to the show, brother. How you doing first?
I'm doing good, man. As always, I appreciate being on the show. Appreciate you guys, man. This is a rocking show.
No, I love it, man. You're always welcome here. You know that. And the other part I want to ask you, too, is before we get into the conversation itself, because you know why you're here. I mean, I've been texting you. We kind of talked about it already.
Yep.
But your takeaways yesterday, Monty speaking to the media a little bit, had some interesting things to say. Anything that stuck out to you significantly? And if it is the Jaden Ivey stuff, then we can get right into it. But anything that you took away from it?
Listen, that's probably the most interesting thing to talk about. I have no problem with jumping right into that. I do want to preface, like with Monty Williams coming in, the one thing that we knew was, and we covered this on Woodward Pistons podcast as well, is that he checks all egos at the door. He wants to reset the table, and he's been saying this all along. Everyone's going to have to prove that they belong in a certain position, as well as the fits that he wanted to be able to bring to this team. So the Ivy stuff, man, I definitely think that that's where we should just jump off.
So at least for me, with the whole Ivy thing, and I had to kind of think about it last night, because part of me initially was like, why the hell would Ivy come off your bench? He's the top 5 pick. He was the best player taken at that position at 5. And when you look at this team and what they need now, or what do you expect them to be, you expect this team to be dynamic. And you expect this team to, you know, at least their foundational pieces, Ivy, Cade, and Nassar, Jalen Duren. That's the 4 that I look at and think, okay, those dudes have high ceilings. 4. Yeah, your core 4. Isaiah Stewart, I think, you know, will be solid, and he's going to be a damn good player, but he's more going to be a role player for you. You're starting 4. He'll provide a lot of the other things. But I'm talking high ceilings, Cade, Ivy, Nassar, and Duren. But when I actually sat there and thought about it, and I really thought about it, I told myself, well, Jeff, you think about it. Ivy's going to play as many minutes as he would starting. He's going to close games. The only difference is he just won't be starting. And the question I asked myself, and me and Michael Gentry were going back and forth about this, because he had the audacity to him and his Redwings. And me and Michael Gentry have a little beef here. It's friendly, but he comes at the Pistons. And I don't even come at the Red Wings, so I don't even know what this is about. It's one way, like, I'm catching strays all the time. And one thing he said is, Jeff, he's not even good enough to start. And I said, that's not even the case, though. And I want you to break it down for me. How did you interpret it when you found out that there's a chance, when Monty said if Alec wasn't ready to go, then Bogey would have got the start? What was your takeaway from Ivy being on the bench? Does he stink? Is he not? And I'm just saying this just because that's what I've been hearing. Either stinks, he's a bad fit. Break it down for me, Kool-Aid. What's going on?
I'll start here. I personally want Ivy to start. I think that he's capable. I think that he's earned that distinction. But earning that distinction and that capability doesn't necessarily mean that it's the best fit for the team. I'm not even talking about the best fit for the lineup. I keep seeing people throw things out there like, you know, Ivy doesn't fit necessarily in that starting lineup. I think he can shoot the 3 pretty well, and his catch and shoot 3-point percentage was pretty good. But he's not necessarily the same type of player as a Bojan. The other thing to preface here is that Monty Williams hasn't decided what the lineups would be. He just has it right now. He said that when we get closer to the start of the season, he's going to start to inform people exactly what those lineups are. It could be a situation to where they believe, if they get to tinker with this lineup in preseason, where they believe maybe Stu is best off the bench. We don't know that yet.
Right.
And so we're still trying to figure this stuff out. But one of the prime things that I thought about immediately, immediately. And we talked about this when we thought our core four was Sadiq Bey and these guys, and we said eventually one of these guys are going to potentially have to come off the bench for this team to get to the next place, to get to that next level. When I think about the OKC Thunder, they're one of the most greatest tragedies in all of sports because they couldn't find a way to have their homegrown talent fit in a manner that would allow them to stay together and actually win together. And instead, they had to go out there and trade one of their biggest pieces that became one of the most foundational pieces in an era of NBA basketball.
It's actually a great point.
Ever.
Because he was a top 5 pick, wasn't he, Harden?
I believe so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
top
don't
5
remember.
pick, and he was coming off the bench.
I believe he was. And they just couldn't work. And when Monty Williams, when I was going through the documentary that the Suns put out called The Breakthrough, the one thing that all the players continue to say is that he breaks egos. We're here for the team. We're here to win. This squad wants to win. We've seen the Pistons go out there and buy playoff runs. SVG bought one. Dwayne Casey bought one. As much as we want to lament on these guys, right? But Monty Williams is coming here with a winning pedigree, with coaches that leave his tree and they win, with coaches that on his staff, they help players become better. We saw players come off the scrap heap and become better, and we saw good players become even greater. We talked last time about Devin Booker becoming somebody who his three-point percentage went up. His free throw attempts went up. So much better in his game, even though he was already a good player.
His defense.
His defense got better.
His defense was crazy compared to what it was.
That's what I'm talking about. So it's like if this mad scientist named Monty Williams is cooking, let that man cook, man.
Yeah.
Let him cook.
And that's my takeaway, too. And he said it. You got to listen. And Rod always, when he said this, it stuck with me ever since he told me and you this. When they speak, you listen.
Yeah.
They'll tell you what they're thinking. They'll tell you. And Monty said it. We want more experience in the starting lineup. And I get it. This is a team that, for us at least, ideally you get your starting 5. We expect what is going to be Cade, Ivy, Asar, Stu, and Duren. But that's an entire lineup full of a rookie, a man who hasn't played a ton of games, but who's going to be a superstar. Ivy in his second year, and then Isaiah Stewart's he's the oldest one in that lineup. Him and, of course, Cade being the second. But regardless, I get it. You get more experience in the starting lineup. It makes sense. Doesn't mean that Alec Burks is levels above Ivy.
No.
I think it's just, that's what some people's takeaway was. So whatever helps this team thrive, man. You want to see a postseason appearance, and I don't really give a damn how it happens. So eventually, maybe Ivy does, end up in the starting lineup. I didn't want to overreact to it. I know a lot of people. Pistons Twitter was on fire yesterday in the last couple of days. I didn't even want to chime into it because it's only preseason. So I'm just letting Monty cook. You got to trust him. And I think he's a damn good head coach, so I'm willing to do that.
And just one other point on that. What did Ivy do? Ivy is a person that responds on the floor. We saw Ivy as somebody who was kind of highly emotional. He wears emotions on his sleeves last year a lot of times. And this season, just speaking to him at Haworth Park, I got a little bit of one-on-one time with him and getting to understand and learn him a little bit better. And then at the training camps, we were able to talk to them as well. We got to ask him a couple questions. He's in one offseason, seems like he's gone from the guy who kind of wears his emotions on his sleeve to a guy who's more mature, a guy who understands he's here to handle business. And I think that is very, very important. And I believe more than anything that there are gauntlets being thrown down. Get to your next level. Get to your next level, Ivy. I believe Monty is challenging this young core to become even better. That's what I believe this is about.
Yeah, and by the way, people, and I want to address this because Sam's got some for you too, and I want to hang out with you for a little bit here if you got time. Mark Royal says Jeff said Casey was a great coach too. And then MP says Jeff was a Casey knobber. By the way, I never said this man was an elite coach. I just thought last year everybody loved to just say, you know what, it's all Dwayne's fault, and I wasn't with that. That's the only thing I didn't agree with. Monty's a better coach than Dwayne Casey. I believe that. Now, with this team, you're at a point, and for Easy, I love Easy because he was big on the whole fit thing, and he's kind of trying to take a victory lap. I don't know if it's a victory lap yet. If Ivy gets traded, Easy can do whatever he wants to do. He can celebrate. But if he's starting midway through the season, there's not really a victory lap. They're going to play together. I think what hurt Cade and Ivy is the fact that they each had their own season with the Tate being the man because Cade was hurt last year and then Ivy wasn't there Cade's first year. So both those guys know is being the man. And now you got a year now together. It's if Cade didn't get hurt last year and those guys played together, I think they'd be starting this year together. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
But, of course, you didn't get to see that. So it is what it is. But, Sam, what do you got?
All right, Kool-Aid. So I think every single person in this room would unanimously agree that Jaden Ivey had a very, very successful rookie season overall.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he lived up to being the number five pick. For me, I don't like the idea of him coming off the bench just on principle. I would like to see him starting because I think with Cade and Ivy, it was supposed to be the backcourt of the future. And there were some people, even at this network, some people I heard that Jaden Ivey would maybe even be the team's number one at some point. So is it fair for me to at least have some questions moving forward, especially since I don't think the Pistons as of now should get the benefit of the doubt because they've been a bad franchise over the last decade or so. They're getting better, but you have to question some of the things that they do. Is that fair?
I think you can question some things. That's always fair. Nobody's ever perfect. But this notion with Ivy starting, I don't think that that's something that's just kind of dead in the water. I believe that he still has an opportunity to.
Yeah, people acting like he'll never start. Like that's a little overreaction. Talk about overreaction. That's bad.
Yeah. Because trust me, I think all of us wanted to see him start. We all believe that he is capable of starting, just like I thought Manu Ginobili was capable of starting. And Monty Williams, I forget the coaching tree he comes from, but I know that he has had some commonplace with Greg Popovich. He's trying to put together a winner in Detroit. I'm tired of seeing these Detroit teams that just pop up and then get swept. And we say, oh, they had no depth. I'm tired of seeing these teams just pop up and just buy a team. This was all about a team of longevity, a team that could check their egos at the door. We don't know what's going on. We don't know if there's some aspect of maturation that needs to go on with these young players, and Monty Williams knows how to push their buttons because the first thing he said to us was, the first question I ever asked him was about this whole pushing and stressing thing that he was talking about. Yeah, I'm pushing, I'm stressing them, I'm putting them in positions to see how they respond. He said that. People don't want to listen to Monty. If Ivy comes off the bench underneath a Monty Williams system and he does it the way I see him doing it now, by being mature, by not letting it affect his game, this Pistons team is going to be greater than if he didn't do this, in my opinion. We have an Asar Thompson right now who is proving to be a little bit better than any of us thought. I heard everybody talking about why are we taking a guy who's only played high school talent. We sat down and we continued to talk about this guy has a little bit more as we continue to pour through the tape and look at the fact that he's strong, he's looking to play for his team, he can rebound, he can steal, he can get blocks and blah, blah, blah. I think that this has more to do about Asar Thompson.
Yeah, his playmaking abilities too. Yeah,
that's
100%.
what I'm saying. And Bojan Bogdanovic, I have said this for the better part of a year. Go back and check all of the tapes, man. He's instant oatmeal, bro. You add water and stir. You need that.
That's a
You
bar.
need that, bro. Like, you throw him the ball, it's going in the basket.
Yeah.
You have, and if you're going to do that, you gotta have people around him defensively. Like, do you know how much offense the Pistons are going to be able to turn on without even running sets just because you got a defensive unit of Cade, Asar, Stu, and Duren? Mm-hmm. And then Ivy came off the bench in that first game, electric against bench players, and he dominated. I don't have a problem with what's going on right now. I want to kind of see this thing through, and if it shakes out that Ivy's coming off the bench, I still believe he's going to be a plus player. I still believe it's going to pay dividends for the Pistons. I just do.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. I wanted to have you on because I wanted to just kind of get you're the voice of reason, I think, for most Pistons fans. And I know the Pistons pay close attention to media here. And I think the important thing to take away is who gives a damn what happens. I think what matters is winning basketball games. And that's what Monty's goal in Detroit here is for the Pistons to see the postseason again. So this is preseason. I'm not going to sit here and assume, since he's not starting in preseason, Ivy will never start with Cade. End of story, shut the book, move on. No. I mean, I'm willing to be patient here and trust the man. So we'll see how that progresses. Appreciate you, Brandon. You can check out Brandon. Plug your socials and everything.
Hey,
where can people find you?
Like I said, as always, Woodward Sports, man. The articles are going up there, woodwardsports.com. Tap into all the social media, but at Detroit Kool-Aid and Woodward Pistons, anywhere you can get it.
There you go, Brandon Dett. Appreciate you, man. We'll go to break here before Sam. Could you tell the people about Dispo?
Of course, I got to thank Mason, of course, before I get my Dispo read on. And you can experience Dispo Romeo, a team that curates an exclusive atmosphere mixed with fresh inventory from Michigan's largest variety of products. The first ever cannabis mall of its kind is conveniently located off of Van Dyke and 32 Mile Road in Romeo. Dispo Romeo is now open late night until midnight every day except Sunday. Can it get any better than that? Dispo Dispensary, disposhops.com, your local cannabis plug.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime. Deal ends Wednesday, September 13th.
Join now at any Metro Detroit location. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That is exactly what Mark White & Associates offers. It's called the Minute-by-Minute Listing Agreement by Mark White & Associates. Try Mark White's risk-free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Let's get into some Lions discussions here. 8:30 now. And Sam Flannel's dancing. It's good morning. I wanted to ask the question because the Lions PR put this out yesterday, and I thought this was super interesting. And this tweet writes, for the first time in Lions history, the team has rushed for 100 yards and held opponents under 100 yards rushing in each of the first 5 games of the season. This is the first time a team has done so in NFL history since 2007. Woo. You know what that means? Dominating at the line of scrimmage. That's what that means. A vision that Brad Holmes had when he first arrived here in Detroit, drafting Penei Sewell with that first-round pick. Now, this is an interesting stat, Sam, because why it's so significant is this is something you see with the top dogs in the NFL. The Philadelphia Eagles can control the line of scrimmage with their offensive line and their defensive line. That's how they win football games. Everything starts up front, and that's, I think, what dictates a lot of football games. The 49ers, what they did against the Dallas Cowboys, they dominated them at the line of scrimmage. I don't think there's any team in the NFL, and there's only a couple, in my opinion, that can do what the Lions are doing. And I would say 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs have a good defensive line and offensive line. I'd put them there. Dallas usually, but they didn't do it against 49ers.
Their line is old. And
a couple years ago, their offensive line could have been. There's only I can name on one hand, guys, teams in the NFL that can do that. And that's another confirmation to me on why the line. This is real. It's not fugazi. The way they win football games. When I say that, the way they're winning, this is what I'm talking about. It's not like it's last year where you win a lot of one-score games for the Minnesota Vikings and you have this negative point differential and things seem fraudulent. I'm talking dominating at the line of scrimmage. Now, the other part of that is who have they really faced offensive line-wise. I get that. But still, you got to play who's in front of you, Sam, and they've been moving everybody out the way, no matter who they play. And I think that's impressive.
Oh yeah, 100%. Here's what this stat kind of tells me, and especially when you look at how the Lions are doing, and when you look at it versus the rest of the league, including the rest of the NFC. The old formula, even though it's more of a passing league now than it's ever been, if you run the football and stop the run effectively, you're going to win games. It's not the end-all be-all or anything, but isn't your offense a lot easier to run when you're like in 2nd and 6 or 2nd and 5, getting a 4 or 5 yard run on 1st and 10 versus maybe being in defense, getting a tackle for loss, stop stopping a 1st and 10 for no gain and the opponents being in 2nd and 10. And when you run the ball effectively, you can control the time of possession. You can get ahead. You can force the other team to be one-dimensional. It is still a formula that works, especially to some extent. And the Lions, it's very, very impressive too. It shows their consistency. It shows that almost pretty much every single game you can guarantee that the Lions are going to get 100 yards rushing. That is huge. And pretty much every single game besides for the Carolina game, they have been dominant at stopping the run. And the Carolina Panthers getting 99 yards, that was a lot of it was in garbage time and a fugazi. But that also, it plays out for just how they rank in terms of rushing and stopping the run in the entire NFL. And you kind of mentioned it, how they're being physical, like the Eagles and the 49ers, teams that we had mentioned before. The Detroit Lions are currently 7th in the NFL in rushing yards per game, which is pretty damn good, I would say. The Eagles are 2nd, the 49ers are 3rd, which, you know, is kind of plays out the way that I would have thought, that they're almost there but not quite, but they're still, the formula is right for the picking. And David Montgomery is 7th in the NFL in rushing yards despite missing a game. That is very, very impressive. And the only NFC running backs who have more rushing yards are Christian McCaffrey and DeAndre Swift. Surprise, surprise. But their run defense has even been more impressive. They're now 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards per game, allowed at 68.4 per game. Number 1 is the Eagles and number 2 is the 49ers. And when you look at I would say they're in the trenches, like the Lions like the offensive lines versus the defensive lines. You could argue right now, and I know this might be a little bit preemptive, that when it comes to the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Lions might right now, or at least into the future, might have the best offensive line of them all. Because quiet is kept, and it's not much, and it's not too noticeable. Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson have declined a little bit. Their best offensive lineman right now is Jordan Mailata. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we all know what the Lions offensive line gives you with guys like Decker and Sewell and Ragnow and Jonah Jackson, Graham Glasgow, Vaitai, whoever you want to put at right guard. And when you look at the front sevens of them all, or like the guys who are the most key in stopping the run, I would say the Lions have the worst personnel out of all of the three, but it actually just shows how impressive that they have been. And you have to give a lot of credit to Aaron Glenn. And that's the thing. That is the old adage when it comes to NFL football and how you win. Be strong up front in the trenches. And that is one of the greatest causes, led by guys like Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem McNeil. That is probably the biggest reason we all say at this network that this Lions team is for real. It's not a fugazi, and they are built to last.
And by the way, at least for you, Lucas, I know we asked this earlier, but controlling the line of scrimmage, Lions do that very well. And you mentioned the personnel, which I tried bringing that up, and I got flamed, so I'm going to stay away from that. But you, Lucas, what do you think? How they dominate the line of scrimmage, to me, that's significant.
No, it's significant, especially when you look at the talent they have. Again, not saying that they're not talented, but this team is going to get better up front on the defensive line at some point. Offensive line, I couldn't tell you if it's going to get much better because I think this is the best as it's ever been in Detroit Lions history, and they have 4 studs. So I'm not expecting them to go out and just rehaul everything to get a 5-star guard. But the fact that this defensive line and this linebacking core is able to control the line of scrimmage, this should give you so much hope as far as where this team's going to go in the future, because it's only going to get better. I think the positional coaches that are there as well, that's why you don't really have to worry about it just falling apart, because the positional coaches that are right now, if Aaron Glenn leaves, which at some point is going to happen, I'm not worried about this defense falling off, because each position, the defensive line, the secondary with Dre Bly, the linebackers with Kelvin Shepard, they're all just playing to their A game, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon, especially if you add more talent.
And it's people that are chiming in now, because I see people, Brandon Katz, he says Detroit is not dominating the line of scrimmage. KC and Seattle are the only teams with good offensive lines who the Lions have played. Well, you know,
it's not like the Falcons ran for 100 yards before the Lions and then literally the game after. So you can say what you want, but people are just like, oh, they've played nobody. If they played nobody, go look at the Eagles' schedule and look at how their offensive line is doing. And it's pretty similar. The Lions are playing tougher competition.
And Mike Bell says, our starting O-line is phenomenal, and Glasgow is a great insurance option, but beyond that, we should be concerned. Yeah, depth at tackle is one of those things, too. Even though you have Penei who can play left or right, and he's elite at both. You know, even though you called me Dan Skipper yesterday, I don't know if you want to see Dan Skipper. Yeah, I don't know if you listen. And Dan's a glue guy, all right, solid guy. But you don't want to see you don't want to see Dan Skipper in there consistently.
No, but I think that's any NFL team. Like any NFL team that loses their top end tackles, like they're fucked as far as like offensive line. Like I don't think anybody just has a tackle waiting in the wings ready to go. If not, they would have been traded for or drafted already before the team got a chance to take them.
Look at this. People are still going off about the Ivy stuff, man, and being traded. Brandon Katz and Easy duking it out in the chat there. And Easy says, stay tuned to Woodward Heavyweights to find out live 5 to 7 p.m. Dad will give you the answers just like he always has. Yeah.
Damn. There you go, Jeff.
I love when people bring up when they're right, but they never bring up when they're wrong.
I admit when I'm wrong.
Let's go back and look when you were wrong, Easy. Let's do it. Ben Matherin, huh? Interesting.
What were you saying on the break, too, that Matherin's coming off the bench this year anyways?
Him and Shaden Sharp. That's who Mike brought up. Mike was like, Shaden Sharp and Ben Matherin were there. And I love Shaden Sharp. Hell no. Both those guys were bench players last year.
Yeah, I mean, Shaden Sharp, what do he average? Like 8 points a game?
Yeah, solid. I think he'll be good, but Ivy was the best possible player. You took the best player at that pick.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Shaden Sharp averaged like 8 points a game last year. I think he averaged something like less than 20 minutes a game. And Benedict Matherin actually shot a worse three-point percentage than Jaden Ivey, but nobody ever tells you that. And for the record, and I know we kind of already got to this with Kool-Aid, I think it's okay to have a few lingering questions like why isn't our number 5 overall pick, who had a great rookie year last year, starting? I think that's fair, but I also don't think it's time for a victory lap, because you can, even if Jaden Ivey does come off the bench, maybe his ceiling, if he comes off of the bench, is a 6 Man of the Year candidate. I don't know.
Here's my problem, Easy, and I love you. I do. But you just gotta educate yourself, man. That's why I love you. But like this, Math will be starting if he was here. Well, you clearly didn't read what Monty said, and it's okay. I'll educate you. Monty Williams said yesterday they want experience, so no, he would not be. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. He would not be starting. But it's a cool thought, though, but he would not be. And even if you want to base it off his shooting three-point percentage, he actually shot worse than Ivy, and he's a shooter. So, sorry. It wouldn't.
Sorry.
No, it just wouldn't. I'm not. Hey, listen, Monty knows ball. Easy. Would you agree he knows ball?
He did say that's one of the first things he said. He goes, Monty knows ball. Ball was spelled
and guess what? The ball knower says he wants experience in the starting lineup. So you're wrong. I'm sorry. All right, let's go to break. And then when we come back, we'll get into more Lions here because I do want to bring up Lee McNeil and kind of, I'll go on the stand. We'll talk about Lee McNeil. We'll give credit where it's due, all that and much more. But first, I got to hear about our friends over at Guardian Alarm.
Absolutely. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work and people who have been proven to care. Give them a call at 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Guardian Alarm, your local security experts.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests, for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Burgers and chicken sandwiches are taking over at Big Boy. Try our new pretzel bacon cheeseburger. Turn up the heat with Bob's Hot Chicken Sandwich. Upgrade those regular fries with our chili cheese fries or loaded baked potato fries. Hit your sweet tooth with funnel cake fries or Reese's chocolate peanut butter thunder cake. Load up on all your favorites today at Big Boy.
Let me tell you about Fairway Packing. There's some beef in the chat for sure right now about Jaden Ivey, but I'll tell you about the beef that you can actually physically go get, and it's at Fairway Packing. For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway Packing for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods or Grab and Go Steaks, or order online at fairwaypacking.com. Okay, it's time. I'm on the stand. Lee McNeil. Guy's balling out. Guy is balling out this year. And it really started, I don't want to say it's all because of me, because, after I made that comment. He seemed like he took it personally.
He heard you.
All I did is I referred to Aleem McNeil, and we were excited before the season about Aleem, but the first like 1 or 2 games, I'm thinking, damn, Aleem's not what we thought he was going to be. He's kind of mid. And ever since then, now he's the highest graded defensive lineman in week 5. So, yeah, that's on me, fellas. Aleem McNeil is that guy. Now, is he going to make a Pro Bowl? I think he could if he keeps up this type of production. Absolutely. All pro and that stuff. A lot of defensive tackles that are damn good in this league. But Aleem McNeil's in that conversation. So the whole thing about Brad Holmes betting on the guys he had in-house, at first I was worried. But, man, I was wrong. And I'm glad I'm wrong. I'm glad these guys are now making noise. And I'm glad Josh Pascal is coming back just around the corner. Aleem McNeil... yeah. Look at this one. Coach Walk. I love when Jeff talks down to people. His voice changes and he acts like you're dumb. His mom must have done that to him. Easy, really well spoken though.
Easy, really well spoken though.
Yeah. Coach Walk. No, it's that I do not talk to people like they're dumb. I just try to make things very easy to interpret. That's all. But anyway, about Aleem McNeil. He's a stud, Sam Flannel. I think he's going to earn some Pro Bowl nods this year. And he's been a big part, not just for what he's doing for himself, but what he's doing to the rest of this defensive line. Because, again, you get a guy like Aleem McNeil who's generating pretty consistent pressure. I know he's not first in the NFL. He's not even top 5, but still, he's doing enough to make everyone else's job easier. So that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. So when we talk about Detroit Lions who have had glow-ups this season, you can talk about Josh Reynolds, who absolutely has had one. You can talk about Derek Barnes. You can certainly talk about Aiden Hutchinson and his second-year leap into stardom, in which he has after a great rookie year, which a lot of the historically great defensive ends have had. But no player on the Detroit Lions has had a glow-up this year quite like Aleem McNeil. Aleem McNeil, quite simply, has been one of the best interior linemen in all of the NFL for the whole year. And I get it, he started off slow, but he has in the last 3 games been so good that his overall season has looked phenomenal so far. Believe it or not, would you believe me if I told you that Aleem McNeil is the 7th highest graded interior defensive lineman according to PFF at 87.3. And listen to some of the names he is ahead of, guys. Quinnen Williams, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Christian Wilkins, Deron Payne, and Derek Brown. Last season, his grade was 69.5, which is very, very solid, but that's kind of what we all thought Aleem McNeil was, solid. We suspected maybe he would have a glow-up. I didn't even think he'd have one like this because that is a 17.5-point leap from last year. Absolutely unbelievable. And what is the thing that the Detroit Lions defense has done better than any other thing, the best aspect of their team, stopping the run? Aleem McNeil has been more responsible for that than any single Detroit Lions player. And you know why? Because Aleem McNeil is the 2nd highest rated run defender according to PFF when it comes to interior defensive linemen. And that is ahead of guys like Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Carter, plus every single other person that I had mentioned. The only person ahead of him is Dexter Lawrence. And last season, Aleem McNeil actually, according to PFF, struggled to stop the run. His run defense grade was 59.8 last year, and this year it is 86. That is a 26.2 point jump for Aleem McNeil. And the Lions' run defense has improved dramatically from last year. And it's not just about run defense. Aleem McNeil this year has 2 sacks in 5 games. Last year, he had 1 in 17 games. That's pretty damn impressive. This season, Aleem McNeil has 3 tackles for loss in 5 games for an average of 0.6 tackles for loss per game. Last season, he had 6 in 17 games, which is 0.35 tackles for loss per game. So he's improved at that as well. You can even go to quarterback hits. Aleem McNeil, 4 quarterback hits in 5 games this season, which is very impressive for an interior defensive lineman. That's 0.8 quarterback hits per game. Last season, he had 7 in 17 games for 0.4 quarterback hits per game. So he has improved at that as well. And even when it comes to pressures, I mean, last season, Aleem McNeil had 29. That's all right for an interior defensive lineman. He got somewhat consistent pressure in some games. He had 29 in 17 games for 1.7 pressures per game. Aleem McNeil this season already has 12 in 5 games for 2.4 pressures per game. So Aleem McNeil has been... when you talk about most valuable defensive players on this team, you can talk about Aiden Hutchinson, you can talk about Brian Branch, and you can talk about Aleem McNeil. I would say it is a full stop at that point, and I might even put Aleem McNeil above Brian Branch because he's played in every single game. Aleem McNeil could make the Pro Bowl this year. I'm not talking, I don't know about All-Pro because I don't know if he's going to have the sack numbers for that, and a lot of All-Pro is about counting stats.
He doesn't have the respect around the league yet either.
Yeah, that's fair, but, like Chris Jones and Quinnen Williams and Aaron Donald, those guys put up double-digit sack seasons. I don't know if I see that for Aleem McNeil, but Aleem McNeil has been balling out. He has been one of the best defensive tackles in the game, and he is the number one reason, in my opinion, why the Lions' run defense is so good and so much better than it was last year, because of the improvements of Aleem McNeil. Have a glow up, Aleem McNeil. You're shining so bright.
And check out his numbers this year, too, in 5 games. He's on par to have a career year. I mean, you look at his sacks, 5 games, tied his career high in sacks. He has 2. You look at quarterback hits, he has 4 through 5 games, his career high 7 in 17 games. He's on track to tie that. Tackle for losses. Last year had 6 in 17 games. He has 3 in 5 games. He's on track to break that. He's on track to pretty much improve every single statistical category he had throughout his entire NFL career. And the other part of it, forced fumble. Never had one, has one this year.
Yep.
So for Aleem McNeil, one thing, he lost a lot of weight.
Thank you.
Lost a lot of weight, but still kept his or added strength. So it kind of even out there. He still has this. He's still just as quick, just as explosive, and just as strong, but he's in better shape.
I would say he's more. If you off the eye test, watch them when they have Isaiah Buggs and Benito Jones, and they have Aleem McNeil kind of off to the side of not at the defensive end by Hutch, but they'll go Hutch or Kaminsky, and then Aleem will be right outside of him or inside of him. They're using him way more as a pass rusher, and he looks way more explosive off the ball. His strength, to your point, Jeff, is the same, but I think everything else has improved. This is exactly why Aleem McNeil wanted to lose weight, and I think this is why Isaiah Buggs and Benito Jones have even looked better than what they are. It's just because you have a guy with Aleem's potential out there with how he's been playing. It raises the whole ceiling. So the fact that Aleem is playing like this right now, I don't think Flannel, I would put him at the MVP behind Brian Branch, but he's damn near close. For me, it would be Anzalone, but guess who Aleem McNeil helps out? Alex Anzalone. Yeah. Guess who Alex Anzalone helps out? Aleem McNeil. So you could go either way for it, but I mean, I've been thrilled. I didn't ever expect this out of Aleem McNeil.
And someone said too, basically to sum it up, I forgot who said it specifically. I want to give credit, but they said basically Aleem McNeil is a starting defensive tackle on a top 10 defense.
He is. By definition, he is.
But you know what? I think that's even underselling him. He's not just a starting defensive tackle. He is a budding star defensive tackle.
That's fair.
That's just by the numbers. I'm not saying he's going to be able to sustain all of this greatness for a full season, but just doing this all in a 5-game sample size, particularly the last 3 games, it is the best stretch of football Aleem McNeil has played by far, and it's not even close. And that is one of the people that I think we all thought had a chance to break out, and so far he has, and it's done wonders for this defense.
And I want to, before we go to break here, get to some of these comments because, by the way, call in, and I'll put the number in the chat. If you guys want to talk about anything, call in through the phone lines. We're expecting a call from our good friend Ted here, so I want to make sure he gets in first because, again, 90-year-old Lions fan, he's getting in first. Sorry, fellas. That's just how it works here. Justin from North Carolina says the Lions beat the Super Bowl champs, so they're one. Okay, sure. That's fair. Big Play Jay says, now those are the stats we love to hear, Sam. Brandon Katz says, McNeil is a poor man's Jalen Carter. Well, that's a little disrespectful. Public Enemy says, Aleem McNeil losing weight really means that this season he is in way better shape. Yes, absolutely.
Keep him healthier later in the season.
100%. He played in 17 games last year, but hey, if he's losing weight and he's in better shape and he's just as explosive, we can get used to this Aleem McNeil, no doubt about it. Let's go to break. We get back. We'll get to some phone calls here. We'll try to get Ted on the line. But first, Sam Flannel, or actually, no, I got to tell you about our friends over at Big Boy because, listen, burgers and chicken sandwiches are taking over at Big Boy. Try their delicious cheeseburgers or the pretzel bacon cheeseburger. Upgrade your regular fries with our chili cheese fries or loaded baked potato fries. Save room for dessert as well. They got peanut butter thunder cake or satisfy your sweet tooth with Big Boy's funnel cake fries. We'll see you guys right after the break.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Dick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then, she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Let's talk about Outdoor Equipment
Co.,
official equipment provider of Woodward Sports. Michigan-grown, family-owned. Bad Boy mowers, trajectories, STYL handhelds, and even weed whippers. Liberty trailers, Generac generators, Snow X plows, and salters. Outdoor Equipment Co. has it all. Buy it, rent it, 0% financing. Delivery to your doorstep. All you gotta do is visit their website at outdoorequipco.com.
You know what time it is. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, and we got to take some phone calls here. JB, please tell me Ted's first in line.
Ted is on, and yes, he is first in line.
All right, he's first in line. You sending him through now?
Bam, he's through to you.
Welcome to the show, Ted. I remember you called us before, and we got to have a conversation with you, but I haven't got an opportunity to talk with you again, Ted, since the Lions are now 4-1. I want your reaction to it all, Ted. What do you make of the Lions this season? Ted? Oh, no.
Ted!
Ted, are you there? No. Ted?
Well, I'm not surprised because they finally got a general manager. In my entire 75 years, well, I figured it out. I've been a fan for about 75 years. I started at about 15, 16 years old. I'm 91 now. And first thing I want to do is I want to give tribute to Mrs. Sheila Hant and Chris Spielman.
Yep.
Anyway, they put this thing in the right direction, so they deserve that thank you.
What do you think about Dan Campbell, Ted?
Anyway, they put this thing in the right direction, so they deserve that.
Oh, that's a delay.
You know, you got a very knowledgeable group there, and I want to address Sam there, Flannel.
Oh boy, what'd I do?
Sam,
yes.
I was worried you were going to have a heart attack the other day. Seriously.
Oh yeah. No, that's you're not
you
the first one.
You went berserk over Williams.
I did. But you know, as I've always said, it's not.
You should watch your video. I thought you were going to have a stroke.
I've always said it's not necessarily about Jameson Williams. It's about the cult of personality that he's like created.
You should watch your video. I thought you were going to have a stroke.
Ted,
that's funny though. Yeah.
Well, Ted, we're having some problems with the delay here. I don't know if it's maybe a delay on your end or our end. Can you hear us?
Well, you know, they played about 4 games. 5 now.
Okay. All right, we're going to have to let you go, Ted, but I appreciate your insight. I don't know, the delay is being a little weird right now, but we'll try to get you...
Let it play out, Sam. For crying out loud. If you want to call him a failure, wait till the end of the season.
Yeah, Sam. Let him play, Sam.
I mean, okay. What have I always said? People act like he's done something, and he ain't done nothing. That's what I've always said, and that's fine. And you know what? I know why a lot of people are mad at me when I say that, because the Lions are winning and everything is fine. It's just that when he doesn't catch passes, it's about how he got open. It's about how he blocked. It's always a goalpost mover with Jameson Williams. That has always been my thing. Let him do something first before we give him this praise and this carte blanche like he's Teflon and nobody can say anything about him. I think the overcorrection to Jameson Williams has gone too far. far because people think he's being unfairly treated, which I don't agree with, by the way.
Let Ted cook. I think he's like, yeah.
Okay, it was good talking to you guys. I watch you every morning.
Thank you, Ted. You're the man. We appreciate you. Again, you are the reason. When I see fans like you that are happy, it makes me happy. So appreciate you, Ted, for all the love, man, for watching the show. Have a great day. Let's try to get to the next caller here. Again, that's Ted, the man, the myth, the legend, the 90-year-old Lions fan, the man who's been here through the gutter. He's been here from the good days, the bad days, and now hopefully some more good days ahead. JB, you can start sending people through here. Ted, yeah, he was cooking there, but
Ted was cooking there. But all right, I'll send this guy through. I had a hard time hearing him, but here's Adam for you guys.
All right, Adam, welcome to the show. What do you want to discuss? Okay, are people just calling and not talking? All right,
Adam.
Yeah, we're done here. All right, screw phone calls. Yeah, these people. Listen, if you want to actually call and you're going to respond, or if things working, then yeah, give us a call. But we're not taking the call, and it's all messed up. That's just bad It's bad for the people. People don't want to hear that. So we're moving on here. Now, listen, for people that are chiming in, I know people are chiming in about Ted here because they're saying let Ted cook. Justin says respect your elders. John says, turn the radio down, Ted. And then someone said, hang up on this guy. Well, we're not doing that out of respect to Ted. He's a legend.
Here, let's try this one more because I see the levels right here.
If there's an L here, we're moving on.
All right, Happy Camper Harry, come on.
Thank goodness, Happy Camper Harry. Finally, how you doing, my man? What do you want to discuss?
None.
Okay, I'm just going to go jump onto Woodward. Appreciate you, Happy Camper Harry. All right, end the phone call. Yeah, no more phone calls. You know what? They'll fix this by the end of the day, though. They will.
It'll be good 2 to 4.
Yeah, it'll be good 2 to 4, but 8 to 10 and 11 to 1. We seem to run into these technical difficulties. Let's see you now. Dan Wood says, Jeff, I don't know what you're trying to say there, Dan Wood. Katie says, turn off your radio, guys. Yeah, people who call in, please just mute whatever's in the background. If you're listening to the show, mute it. We don't want to hear it through your phone. It's just bad.
I can hear the show in the background, and then, of course, we're on a little bit of a delay, but still, at the same time, you're on the phone, too. Wait, what?
Yeah, and Jordan says, Jeff, he was just reflecting on the years of misery, so he couldn't get his words out. Well, that's fair.
That's fair.
People are saying, Hoof-Hearted, you can have a call-in without at least 2 L's. Well, Hoof-Hearted tried calling in, didn't work either. So, again, they'll fix all this by 2 to 4. But for right now, I do want to have a different conversation because screw the phone calls. Let's start talking about trades, potential trades. Because the Lions right now, we assume they're going to be buyers. That's what they should be. They're not sellers. That's not even a debate there. And I saw a trade proposal, and I don't want to say where I heard it. You guys will know when I bring it up. Possibly trading Jameson Williams.
Fuck no.
I want the people to weigh in on this. Okay?
I'll put a poll up. This better be like a 90 to 10 type of thing.
Jameson Williams.
Don't let the ball know we're down.
If you trade Jameson Williams or you trade somebody on this football team and you can get a proven defensive player, well, first tell me what position you'd be looking for, Sam, and then the idea that was thrown around of Jameson Williams being traded. And I'll just say this, no, I do not want to trade Jameson Williams. I mean, he's played in, 7 games, and there's still a lot of runway for him left, and we really don't fully know what he can be. So I'm on the no. That's a little ridiculous, but what about you, Sam? I'm curious what you think.
No, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying trade Jameson Williams, but if you can get a good offer, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's like the craziest thing in the world. Which has always been, it's always been my issue with Jameson Williams. He has gotten so much credit and so much carte blanche for having basically a nothing of a career right now. Is it all his fault? Absolutely not. He was drafted as an injured player. He got himself suspended, which it was a bit of a gray area kind of rule. Oh well, that's all well and good. But to say that it's off the table, I think is a little bit crazy. I think if there's any position where the Lions could trade for, I actually think they could be fine just standing pat, but maybe an edge rusher or a corner. I've heard the name Chase Young or Pat Surtain the second being thrown around.
Yeah, because the whole Broncos defense.
They're both on rookie deals. Patrick Surtain, the thing about him though is, you'd probably have to trade for him and then pay him because Patrick Surtain was first-team All-Pro last year. I know that he's not having quite the season this year as he did last season, but I don't know if Patrick Surtain is going to want to play on a rookie deal for that much longer.
I'd pay that man ASAP.
And that's fine. And that is 100% fine. And I don't even hate that.
And you see all the guys that are being traded right now, like Van Jefferson just went to Atlanta, which we kind of knew he was going to be traded before the season. We talked about that on the morning show. Another player now, McCole Hardman, being shopped around for the Jets. Even more than that, Jerry Jeudy might be traded from the Broncos. Like, there's Cortland Sutton might be available from the Broncos. There's a lot of receivers that are available. In my opinion, if the Lions are going to trade for anybody, you're not trading away Jameson Williams. That's off the table. But if you're going to trade for a position, in my opinion, Sam, it's either another edge rusher or it's your corner.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, and Chase Young, I think that's
Chase Young would be amazing.
I mean, that is a very solid option, and I'm not necessarily calling for it or anything, but could you just imagine a defensive line of Chase Young, Aiden Hutchinson as bookend pass rushers, probably the best duo in the league at this point, with Aleem McNeil sitting right there in the middle, and I'm not sure what you'd have to give up for him. I mean, he's kind of I wouldn't say he's a depreciated asset because he is playing very, very well this season, as I'll get to in a minute. But Chase Young, I think foolishly, his fifth-year option was not picked up by Washington. And I still think when all things are equal at their ceiling, Chase Young is the best of their front four players. And they have a pretty damn good front four, either him or Jonathan Allen. I mean, Chase Young, let me see. He is still on his rookie contract. You would get him this year. His cap hit for this season is about $11 million, and then he'd be a free agent, so you'd probably want to pay him after that, or maybe just use him as a rental. We shall see. But the Lions have quite a bit of cap space next season. They have $62 million according to Spotrac. And Chase Young this year, 3 sacks in 4 games played, 7 quarterback hits, 3 tackles for loss, and 27 quarterback pressures. 27 quarterback pressures in 4 games, which is damn near 7 per game, and that ties him in quarterback pressures with TJ Watt and Nick Bosa, who have both played 5 games. So if it were any players to maybe really put this team over the top, I would probably say Chase Young or Patrick Surtain II because they're both on rookie deals as well. But still, this Lions team is pretty damn good as they are. I won't be upset if Brad Holmes doesn't add anybody.
Mike Bell says, J-Mo hasn't even played a full season. Practice speed is not the same as game speed. Let's at least give it to the end of the season. I'm with you, Mike Bell. I'm not trading J-Mo whatsoever.
You know what, Mike Bell? We can shake hands on that.
Yeah.
Give it to the end of the season.
Even you, Sam Flannel.
Give it to the end of the season.
Listen, you gave your fair criticism to Jameson, but even you are willing to say, I'm giving him to the end of the year.
Sure.
Brandon Katz says, Cortland Sutton doesn't move the needle for Detroit. What about you, Lucas, position-wise? Like, who are you? If the Lions make a deal, what position are you looking them to target?
I don't even know if I'm, picky for a certain position. I'm more so just, if they just add another weapon. Like, for me, I'm looking over at New England right now. I'm seeing a Kyle Duggar that I like a lot. I'm looking over in New York. I'm seeing Xavier McKinney, who I like a lot. I'm just looking for players that can create turnovers because we talked about the Lions' rush defense you don't really have to worry about. Now, I'm not saying that this Lions secondary is bad, but it can definitely get better. I don't think it's an elite secondary yet. So I think anybody that you can add to that secondary, especially with DJ being down for so long, he can come back later in the season. But to be able just to rotate DBs, I want another versatile weapon. Xavier McKinney, I don't know if you guys have ever watched him for the Giants, but that man flies around and takes head-offs, and he's
he does.
5'11". And so he's literally doing the same thing that Brian Branch does, so now that gives you opportunity to move Brian Branch around even more. Now you can put Jerry Branch and Cam Sutton on the at the cornerback position. Even if you want to, Xavier McKinney can play corner if you want to. That's why I like Kyle Duggar too, Jonathan Jones. I would be looking at the Patriots DB room right now and pick whoever you want because Bill Belichick, he's a madman at the GM position right now. He does not know what he is doing. The Patriots are going to have a top 5 pick. Go after that. I look at Arizona. I look at Budda Baker. I would love Budda Baker. I look at Jalen Thompson. I would love Jalen Thompson. Even Byron Murphy. I'm not saying he's this star guy, but I don't see Brad Holmes going and trading for Pat Surtain. I see Brad Holmes, if he's going to make a trade, I think it's going to be for a serviceable type of guy that now he can use for this season and spend big money in the offseason if he wants to. But I don't think he's going to trade for a premier guy. But I would really just like to see somebody in the secondary just because his front 7 looks so good, balance it out on the defensive side.
Yeah, and that's fair. I think secondary is, especially corner for me, or like you said, another safety with CJ going down. But, some of these comments now talking about Chase Young. Brandon Katz says, Washington's offensive line is trash. They can't afford to pay Chase Young. And Jesse Adams says, I would probably guess a 3rd or 4th this year for Young. I'd pay that in a heartbeat.
100%. 1,000%.
Because you're in the... This is the thing about Brad, and he's shown us that he could find talent all throughout the NFL draft. But when you become that team, when you're one of the premier teams in the NFL, you got to start giving away some assets. Like the Rams haven't had a first-round pick in how many years? And they've won a Super Bowl. I'm not saying that's the game plan, but the point is, when you're a good football team, I'm not concerned with a 3rd or 4th round pick, especially when Brad's finding Malcolm, James Houston, so on and so forth past the 4th round. So, he found Amon-Ra in the 4th round, but still, I'd be willing to sacrifice a mid-round pick for Chase Young. I'm 100% on board with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because even, I hate to say this, but even the Malcolm Rodriguez and James Houston picks, I get it. They worked out really, really well last year, but you don't know going forward. I get it. They're 6th-round picks, but still, if you can get a mid-round pick for Chase Young, I would take that 1,000 times.
I don't even care if it's first. If I'm being completely honest, I know it's extreme. I would give up a 2nd for Chase Young. I know that's extreme, but if you add Chase Young to this roster right now, I'm sorry, but I think that is the single move outside of trading for Max Crosby, which, to Jeff's point, is not going to happen just because of the money. That is the move that I think closes that gap. The 49ers are here. You add Chase Young, I truly believe that puts the Lions, here.
Yeah.
It takes one game, and I think you look at the Lions' remaining schedule, they could easily, like Flannel said, be the number 2 seed in the NFC. It takes one game. And now they are on par with the 49ers with Chase Young. I don't care if he doesn't come back for it. I think if they sign Chase Young, they would try to extend him. You give up a 2nd-round pick, I don't care. I do not care.
You can never have enough defensive line depth, in my opinion.
No, and especially Chase Young's do not just fall off trees.
No,
Chase Young is the tree that other defensive linemen watch, and that's the tree they fall off of.
Yeah. That guy is a dude. Is Chase Young better than Romeo Okwara?
No.
Yes.
I'd rather.
My point being is then you go get him. He's going to play a lot more than anyone else on that defensive line. Not say it again. I got to watch what I say here, Lucas, because if I say that, then that means I'm calling this defensive line trash. I'm not doing that. It's a great defensive line, but you can always add another dude like Chase Young.
It's like having a nice car. You can always just leave the car as it is, or you can put a new engine in it. You can put a new body on it. You can tint it out. You can put some new rims on it. You keep the car. You just make it a little better. You just soup it up a little bit more.
There you go. Just add some. Just add a couple add-ons on there. Spice it up. This defensive line.
I said
I like it.
If the Lions were to trade for Chase Young and you have Chase Young and Aiden Hutchinson, you could argue that it is the best bookend pass rushers in the NFL.
I don't think it'd be up for debate. I really don't.
You can maybe say Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, maybe Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. I get it, maybe, but I would probably still put my money on Hutch and Young.
It would be a wash. I think maybe a couple years ago you could say that about, not even DeMarcus Lawrence because Micah Parsons wasn't there yet. I think DeMarcus Lawrence is obviously on the decline, and you have Chase Young and Aiden Hutchinson, who are both entering their prime still.
Chase Young has 27 pressures in 4 games.
That's insane.
It's tied with T.J. Watt and Nick Bosa.
And it's just we said it enough, but just the eye test on Chase Young. Watching him against Chicago the other night, I know it was against Chicago where the offensive line is terrible.
Yes.
But how explosive he was off the line and just how in flow it was. It's one thing to be explosive. We talk about it all the time. The Lions last year, they would get to spots, but then they'd over pursue. Chase Young plays with such a speed of the game, but yet it's still slow to him. So he reacts so quickly to things that just average players and even above average players would not be able to do. His ability to sniff out a run and the pass is just like Hutch. I think he's just a little bit more athletic than Hutch, but Hutch is a little bit more powerful. So it's kind of like that lightning and thunder type of thing off the edge.
If there's any edge rusher in the NFL who just looks like the Hulk, it's Chase Young. But he's fast. He's explosive. He's got good pass rushing moves.
4.5.
He is a build and edge rusher.
Let's go to break. 100%. When we get back, I'm going to bring up a new name, and I want to see what you guys think about this and if it's realistic. But when we come back, though, we'll discuss that. But first, I got to hear about our friends over at Swiss Insurance.
Absolutely. Do you have football on the brain? Fall ushers in college and professional football, and this year is going to be awesome. Fall is also a perfect time to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
me tell you about our friends over at Feldman that with over 18 locations, there's a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit FeldmanAuto.com to find the location nearest to you. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class buying experience, and it's called the Feldman Advantage. We're back. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. I want to bring up a new name because now we're just talking about potential deals for the Detroit Lions as the trade deadline kind of approaches. And if Brad Holmes should be a buyer, which he should be in my opinion, you should never stop trying to improve your football team.
Sure.
You can't do it all through the draft. There's got to be times where you make a splash via trade, via free agency, which Brad's done a good job in. But throughout his tenure, he has not made a big splash trade, and that's okay. I don't think the Lions were in a position to do that. I think this year you're closer to a Super Bowl. I can't believe I'm saying that, but competing for a Super Bowl than I at least ever have in my lifetime.
Sure.
So it's worth the conversation. It is. And another name that I think will potentially be dealt, I'd have to see how it plays out more often, and maybe even for a wide receiver, we'll see, is Brian Burns. Like someone who I think is unhappy in Carolina. And the one thing I've heard consistently with Brian Burns since the beginning of the year is the frustration. He's just frustrated. They're losing. And I'm not 100% certain. I have to double check. But didn't he just get a contract
extension? Yeah, he just got extended, yeah.
So he's signed. And it's a big contract, huge contract. So there's the part of it that I think the Lions would probably sit there and be like, damn, I'm not trading for that contract. You got guys that you have to pay. But somebody in that tier of, you brought up Chase Young, who's on an expiring contract. I think if you trade for Chase Young, there'd have to be, unless Brad is okay with him walking, there'd have to be some sort of agreement, like we're going to try and sign you for an extension.
That's usually what happens. Usually, like most of the time, if you're trading for a player like that mid-season, it's like, okay, sign him the next day, new deal's done.
Yeah, I don't think that, they would just trade for Chase Young, give up a second, and let him walk.
Yeah.
I mean, but, maybe it would be worth it. I know people were talking about Brian Burns, Patrick Surtain, and then, of course, Max Crosby. John says, you guys are just bored. No, it's pretty fun.
I love talking about NFL
like you
trades.
have to. And this is the time. We have not talked once about any, it just hasn't really been right for the conversation. It's fun talking about potential deals. And now that we're in the part of the season where teams kind of know they stink, I think it's worth talking about those guys. But what about Brian Burns, Max Crosby? Is there anybody that comes to mind for you, Sam Flannel, out there that you're looking for the Lions to potentially negotiate a deal? Or is it all just off the table, you think? Because Brian Burns, to me, I don't think is realistic.
I mean, he actually, according to Spotrac, he has not signed a new contract. He is playing on his fifth-year option right now, so the Lions would definitely have to negotiate one. And Brian Burns is another one. If you put him opposite Aiden Hutchinson, it would also be the best bookend pass rushers in the NFL because Brian Burns is elite. He had 12.5 sacks last year. He is one of the better young up-and-coming pass rushers in the NFL. I would say he is a tier below Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, is that fair? Kind of like maybe top 10 to 15 edge rusher in the NFL. And if you get one of those along with Aleem McNeil and along with Aiden Hutchinson, that would be absolutely huge. I think moving forward, I'm going to stick with Chase Young. I think that would be the better option. I think you could get him on a more affordable deal because Brian Burns, I mean, here's the reality. I think Chase Young is a better player than Brian Burns, but I think Brian Burns has showed more and has less injury concerns. So I think his deal will actually be bigger and maybe even longer than Chase Young. But yeah, I mean, Brian Burns, who wouldn't want him? He's a damn good football player.
Yeah, Gritville says Chase Young stays hurt. Well, at least this year he has not gotten hurt. So, there is some truth to that. But you can't really deny Chase Young's talent either. If he's available for a trade, I think Chase Young's probably my number one target.
I think if Chase Young's available for trade, all 31 other GMs are picking up the phone and seeing at least if they can do something. Because the fact is, Chase Young on a one-year deal, that just doesn't happen. Like players like that, like Brian Burns. He was going to be playing on a one-year deal, and even Carolina was like, yeah, we're going to try to re-sign you. We got to get you inked up. Every defensive end that's like, you don't find Chase Youngs on one-year contracts. You just don't.
No, typically they're not available because they're a part of organizations. And they keep those guys. But he is potentially available. For me, and the Lions, that's the luxury of having a good general manager is, and he's not just a good general manager, he's a damn good GM with drafting players, finding talent. So I guess that kind of makes things a little less stressful. Former GMs for the Lions, you knew they would not hit in the draft, so you felt like free agency and the trade deadline were two of the most important things on how to build your football team. It's a little different now with Brad Holmes. You can actually build it through the draft, but there comes a time where, you got to just take a swing on somebody. Not that you have to just take a swing on the first thing that comes along, but if it makes sense, then it makes sense. And I think Chase Young makes sense, to be honest with you. Mike Bell says, now Jeff wants to focus on their health for this season and forget their past injury history. Interesting. I mean, yeah. I'm just stating a fact. He has not gotten hurt this year. There's no denying he's been hurt.
It's the same thing with like J-Mo. It's just like there's no denying the injury potential that's there, but when they're not injured, the impact they can make on any NFL team, especially with this Lions team at where they're at, where they never have been, the potential to reach the Super Bowl. Yeah, I might risk that when you have Brad Holmes, who has the most NFL cap space coming up this offseason, and he still can cook in rounds 1 through 7 and pull you a Pro Bowler through all of those rounds. The risk is there because, honestly, what is the risk when you have Brad Holmes? What are you truly risking if you give up a second-round pick for Chase Young? He gets hurt? Okay, that sucks. You lose a second-round pick, you still have the roster that you were with before. That sucks, but it's not like your team is now dropping a level. They'll be in the exact same spot as they were before. You can go and trade for another second-round pick afterwards if you want to. The Lions are going to be making moves again this offseason. I think there's really a no-risk reward in my opinion.
And this one too, Max Mayer says 49ers did it with McCaffrey. See, that's fair. They traded for McCaffrey in his contract, but look at how valuable he's been to them. Not saying you're trading for the same player, but you got to take swings, dude.
No, look at...
And they have John Lynch, who's great at finding talent.
That's what I was going to say. They have John Lynch, who always is making moves. No matter if the 49ers are set, John Lynch makes moves. Howie Roseman makes moves regardless. That's the one thing where I'd like to see Brad step it up a little bit. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, but if there's one way that I think Brad could improve, I think be more aggressive during the season, because that's what you see, these upper echelon teams. Even you go back in the past, the Chiefs, they always kind of make some, getting Kadarius Toney, as small that was, if they don't have Kadarius Toney in the Super Bowl, they don't win. And I know he played terrible week 1, but that matters for the Chiefs. If they don't have Kadarius Toney right now, they're still in a bad spot. I think making trades through the season is what Brad Holmes needs to do next. But again, he hasn't been in that position before, so we still got to wait and see.
And you also have to balance, the fact that you have great players that need to be paid eventually. So I get that. And that's up to Brad to do that. Of course, we don't get paid to manage the numbers. He does. So that's on him. You got to figure out how you're going to pay St. Brown, Panay, all these guys. And you have Jared Goff coming down the pipeline. You still have to decide if he's your future quarterback. I think right now, statistically, he's kind of making a case. But do you want to pay him $50 million? That's something that Brad's going to have to decide. So a lot of it comes into play, but I do think the Lions will trade for somebody. I do. You can't be this good of a football team and not trying to improve. I don't know. I maybe Brad stays content through the trade deadline, but I don't think so. I think one move gets done. I don't know how big or how significant it is, but it'll be someone. Someone will be traded for.
Ooh, I got to bring this up because I think you guys are really going to enjoy this because his name was brought up. You know who would really not like Brian Burns in Detroit?
Who?
One Neil Rule. Did you hear what Neil Rule said about Brian Burns yesterday on the Big D Energy Show?
Not.
And everybody who watches both shows can mark me on this because this is true.
Well, hold on. You know what? Let's go to break. Can you tell us when we come back?
Yes, absolutely.
Let's do it. We'll talk about that. But first, I got to tell you about Planet Fitness. Then we'll hear what Neil Rule said, and we'll address it here. Planet Fitness is the home of the judgment-free zone where anybody can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. Head over to Planet Fitness. You put $1 buckaroo down, and it's $10 a month. $1 buckaroo. That's it. One bone, $10 a month, no commitment. Now through October 13th, one bone down in 10 buckaroos a month. Yeah, I'm using all the words here. And no commitment. Head over to Planet Fitness because your fitness is essential.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Calling all landscapers. This is Darren McCarty. I'm at Outdoor Equipment Co. How would you like to landscape like a legend? How about a bad boy zero turn? And even a chainsaw. And even a weed whipper. So register today at OutdoorEquipCo.com, and even you could have DMAC on your landscaping crew.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Academy Award. They got features that could interest you and your child, like small classroom sizes, futuristic media center, academic games, and much more. You see it on the graphic if you're watching on YouTube. Rock climbing wall, learning street, athletic complex that features a volleyball court and soccer field that can also be used for 7-on-7 football. Get over to the Academy Warren. You can enroll your child today or visit academywarren.net for more information. All right, Sam Flannel. We teased it last segment here. Neil Rule speaking on Brian Burns. What did the man say? What did he say?
All right, so Neil Rule, obviously the Detroit Lions just played the Carolina Panthers, and Brian Burns, I mean, the whole defense couldn't really do anything, but Brian Burns, he had a sack. I mean, it was kind of a total team L for the Carolina Panthers, but Brian Burns is always there to make an impact. But he did the most Neil Rule thing possible.
What'd he do?
He just said about Brian Burns, I always hear about Brian Burns, but every single time I watch him play, I just don't see it. I don't see that kind of an impact, and I almost fell to my chair in the back again, like I've done many, many times listening to Neil Rule. Did you know that this man has made the Pro Bowl the last couple of years? He's had a 12.5 sack season, 2 9-sack seasons, 2 seasons in which he's had over 20 quarterback hits, and 2 seasons in which he's had over 10 tackles for loss. I don't get how you can just evidence-free say stuff like that and have some of the Neil minions in the chat just being like, Brian Burns is elite. It drives me crazy. Drives me crazy.
There's no doubt about that, Flannel.
Yeah.
If Brian Burns was a free agent and, let's say Carolina didn't extend, every team in the NFL would be throwing their top dollar to get a guy like Brian Burns.
Absolutely.
Every one of them.
Yeah, he's one of the better edge rushers. He's 4 sacks. Aiden has 5 or 4.5, and we're claiming he's again. Brian Burns is really, really good. I think that kind of gets. He has 11 pass deflections in 5 games, in his entire career. So he's also a threat, just disrupting plays all the time. And I think Brian Burns is a hell of a player. He's only 25 years old.
Hey, look, it's
25 years old.
It's one of the lead Neil bots, Detroit Supremacy. Somebody who I've had battles with on Twitter, and some I've had battles with on the chat. Brian Burns doesn't do anything until the Panthers are down 30. Have you ever watched a Brian Burns game before that game against the Lions? Have you ever? Just say no. Just say no. So all of his 12.5 sacks last year were when the Panthers were down by 30. All of his 18 the 2 previous years combined were when the Panthers were down by 30. Is that what you're saying? Did he build an entire Pro Bowl career 2 seasons by only getting sacks when you're down by 30? Stop it with this nonsense. You have to actually bring evidence to the chat. You can't just say stuff just to say stuff. And Speak Easy Sports. Easy, my man. And I know, Jeff, you've gone back and forth with him when it comes to stuff like this, but I'm going to back him up 100% on this. This is what Speak Easy Sports said. I'm more upset at the people who buy this BS.
No, yeah. I agree with you.
All Neil really had to say is that, I don't really see much from Brian Branch, and some people are just like, Brian Branch isn't even that good.
I thought Neil would have went the money route. I can understand the money route. I can't understand saying that Brian Burns doesn't have talent. That is just idiotic. That's just ignorance. That's pure ignorance.
Yeah.
Because you just watched him last game. It's like, he probably is getting a sack in the last quarter because the Lions aren't throwing that much. They're running the ball the whole time. They're going up against a top 2 offensive line whose primary focus every time is Brian Burns. After Brian Burns, they go Derek Brown. But when you have Frank Ragnow, you can a lot of the time just put Frank Ragnow on Derek Brown and not have to worry about it. You still have to worry about Penei Sewell and Brian Burns just because of the pure speed that Brian Burns has. It's not a diss against Penei Sewell. Every tackle that lines up against Brian Burns has a chance to get burnt off the edge because of his speed and explosiveness off the ball.
Yeah, this one, the Purple Princess, people going after Burns is funny because imagine if we did trade for him, everyone would start slobbing him and talking Super Bowl.
Everybody would be like, oh my God!
Yeah, I know.
Brian Burns!
And speaking of guys that, listen, Brian Burns is a stud, but I know another stud that you have in house. And I sent you a graphic. Put this thing up, man.
I got you.
And and just to kind of pivot the conversation a little bit, this was just sent to me by JB, and I think it's super intriguing. This is PFF, highest graded quarterbacks this season. Look at that. Jared Goff, number 1. Jared Thomas Goff, Ryan Gosling looking crushing it. Look at Jared Goff, number 1, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, and Tua Tagovailoa. Some of these, though, like Lamar Jackson being the number 2 quarterback, how that last game ended. Did you watch that last game?
That game was just ugly.
I mean, his receivers did him no favors in that game, and I'm not like a Lamar.
That's
like,
why
super fan or anything,
PFF could sometimes be a little shaky.
Sure,
but if it fits my narrative, I bring it up, and Jared Goff's number one. So we're gonna just act like PFF is the end all be all. Is that fair? Is that fair? Okay, PFF's the end all be all because Jared's number one. But this is to me this is significant because. For Jared Goff last year, like it's funny because he had a career year last year, to be honest with you, and everybody, including me, was wondering, can he do it again? And he's having a hell of a year to start. I mean, couple interceptions. He started last season like that, but damn, I mean, Jared Goff. It seems like every graphic that comes out regarding quarterbacks, he's in the graphic.
I mean, he's like top 4 to 7 in pretty much every single statistical category when it comes to quarterbacks. I wouldn't say he's been the best quarterback in the NFL, but he has been exactly what the Lions have needed. And for the most part, he's had an excellent season. So
extend that man.
That's where you're at?
That's where I'm at right now. I said it. I'll be happy to. I'll put my nuts on the table. I said after Thursday night in Lambeau, I would extend Jared Goff right now because the fact is you've never had a quarterback in your team's history that can do that. You now have one that has done it twice in the last 8 weeks. Finished the season off last year and then already in week 4 this year. You have a quarterback right now that the Lions have not had. Now, whether it's because of the roster or whatever, that roster likes Jared Goff. Jared Goff is obviously entering his prime right now. Extend that man while you can, because if you don't, then you have to worry about this whole process of you have to go into Lambeau again, and your quarterback that you have now has to learn to win in Lambeau, and just accept. It's just like starting the whole sequence over again.
But to your point, though, you said I'd extend him right now. Is it fair to say, because you said you never had a quarterback, at least in your lifetime, in my lifetime, and everyone in this room's lifetime, that can go on to Lambeau and win?
Go into Kansas City and win.
And go into Kansas City and win. I've also never had a quarterback to win a playoff game.
That's true. And
so, I think Goff can do that, but where I'm at, Lucas, and tell me if this is fair, I just need to see some sample size of postseason success.
No, you're absolutely right, but I know it's going to happen.
Okay.
Like I could be completely wrong and whiff, but I have 100% confidence that Jared Goff is going to win a playoff game with the Detroit Lions this year, if not 2. Could very well be in the NFC Championship, and fuck it, if you're there, you could potentially go to the Super Bowl. We are having this discussion right now. We have never seriously had this discussion where we aren't just being slappies. When you're 11-5 with Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, and Theo Riddick, yeah, that sounds nice, but you all know it's not a reality. Right now, it's truly a reality. I think it's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. I'm not wasting any time. Like I'm not telling them like go sign him right now. But if they extend Jared Goff right now, I'd be smiling. I'd be a happy man. I'd be a happy camper.
Well, and that's kind of the thing, because I wouldn't advocate for it like you are, Lucas, but if they could get a deal done that is somewhat reasonable, and even if it's not reasonable, I wouldn't necessarily say, Brad Holmes, what the F are you doing? Because Jared Goff has done a lot in his career. He's played the best football of his career in Detroit. I think we would all agree. Even better than he was in 2017 and 2018 in Los Angeles. It's kind of to what Jeff said. I understand that we think strongly that he is going to have some postseason success this year, that they are going to win the division, maybe even win 13 games and be the 2 seed. But the reality is Jared Goff, even though he's done some very, very good things and it hasn't always been his fault, has still not won anything of significance in Detroit. Most quarterbacks haven't, by the way.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, that he's better than almost anybody we've ever seen here, but still, it's not just like if you don't want to extend him, you're an insane person. I want to see a little bit more, but he's already shown a hell of a lot.
That's really it for me. I just need to see postseason success. That's what matters, and I think that's what Lions fans we're chasing is postseason success. But to Lucas's point, I've seen him do it.
Yeah, it's just like
I've seen him do it.
If the way the Lions are winning right now, I have full confidence in Jared Goff in the postseason. I'm not worried about Jared Goff losing the game, if that makes sense. Dak, I have worries about him losing the game. Though you can go around the NFL. Jimmy Garoppolo, there's numerous quarterbacks who you don't have confidence in the quarterback, but you have confidence in the roster. I have confidence in the roster, and a huge part because of that is the quarterback as well. And that's just not a position Lions fans have been in. And I'm with you guys where it's like, yes, we still need to see Jared Goff win these games, but it's just like I know that he's going to. Like, I could be proven wrong, but the ball-knowing senses, they're telling me they're tingling right now, and they're telling me Jared Goff is that guy for the Detroit Lions.
It's like,
go ahead.
No, I would say you're like That's So Raven. You like look into the camera and it zooms into your eye, and then it goes in, and Jared Goff's winning a playoff game, and you're like extend him now.
And people like bringing up the Hendon Hooker thing. I'm not saying that Hendon Hooker is going to be terrible in the NFL, but to say that Hendon Hooker does not have to go through a learning curve as an NFL quarterback is completely ignorant. Like, you could have the same roster right now. Hendon Hooker is going to make rookie mistakes. He's going to make sophomore year mistakes. And then maybe in year 3, it gets clicking. But no quarterback just goes in the league and wins. It's never happened before. So to expect that out of Hendon Hooker, I don't think is fair and or realistic. You have a guy that can do it with you right now.
And that's fair. Very fair. Honolulu Blue Sparty, Jeff, what if we only win one playoff game? Would you pay him then?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's a guy who you can win playoff games with, and if you have a quarterback that can win you playoff games, and again, you just have to get into the dance. And then you could build your roster. I'd have to talk the prices, though. That's the other part. Like, how much are we paying him? That's the other part of it.
I don't care. Like, obviously I do. Like, if it's like $55 million, I'm going to be pissed. But my whole thing where it's like to fall back on, you still have Brad Holmes as your GM. You still have him to keep plucking out talent. For every year that Jared Goff is under contract, Brad Holmes is going to be drafting. Brad Holmes is going to be signing free agents. And have we seen a bogus contract out of one of those signings yet? No. So if you overpay a little bit for Jared Goff and kind of keep dealing how you've been doing in the offseason where you're kind of undersigning players and they're happy to be here, so is Jared Goff. And I think that's just a winning recipe. And the other thing is like Ben Johnson, he's gone. Yes, that's going to be a huge blow, but for the fact that you have Jared Goff, who had a chance to learn and develop under Ben Johnson for 2 years, you still take value out of that too. Compared to Hendon Hooker, another quarterback who has 0 seasons under Ben Johnson, they learned 0 from Ben Johnson on the field. That means something to me.
Hey, don't have no fear. Tanner Engstrand is here. All right.
No, I'm not saying that.
He's taking over. He's taking over OC after Ben. I'm telling you.
But I think Ben could be the next Kyle Shanahan for real.
Yeah, I do. Could be. He's going to be a damn good head coach. But again, if Dan's that guy, you just shouldn't worry.
No, that's why I'm not. Resign Goff right now.
Okay.
He did say that.
I say, you think 49ers fans are worried that McDaniel's already one of the best coaches in the league?
I think so.
You think they're worried?
I think so.
But they have Kyle Shanahan.
Like, obviously, they're in the NFC, but like if the 49ers and Dolphins were in the Super Bowl, I think 49ers
I should say, are they missing him?
No.
Like, they're like, we got Shanahan. We'll figure it out. No. Yeah, that's how it should be with the Lions. You know, we'll see. Ben Johnson, though, is a dog. I mean, the guy's a stud, and he's going to be a damn good head coach. He really is. Let's go to break. We'll get back. We'll go to What's Trending with Lucas. But first, I got to hear about our friends from Premier Pet.
Absolutely. Premier Pet is the best place to get all of your pet supplies. And you know what? How you know it? I will give you the greatest endorsement of it all. I shop at Premier Pet for my golden retriever, Jake, and my cat, Milo. And you can do that, too. When it comes to your pet, don't settle. Give your pet the best. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Family owned and operated for over 30 years, 13 Metro Detroit locations, over 60 brands of food, lowest prices, and curbside home delivery. Premier Pet Supply, give your pet the best. You can go to their website at premierpetsupply.com.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer at Academy Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Holton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
How would you like to win a $100K Vegas getaway? Take your friends and live it up in a city that never sleeps. It's the Centron Energy Drink It and Live It sweepstakes.
Pretty good.
Purchase a 24-pack today and enter for your chance to win. Register at drinkcentron.com/Vegas and buy Centron at your local Meijer store. Centron, the healthy energy drink with a great taste. Look good, feel great, and be the best version of yourselves with Centron. Once again, that is drinkcentron.com/Vegas.
You know what time it is. It's 9:40. It's that time of the day. What's Trending with Lucas? I had to hold it down yesterday, but we got Lucas back. You know what? No, but you know what? We got the guy back.
We got it.
Let's cook. Lucas, what do you got for us?
All right, so obviously Justin Jefferson on IR. Then we saw this video. JB actually sent it. The Minnesota Vikings, everything about them just falling off. They're falling apart. Even their team van, the wheels are falling off the Minnesota Vikings right now. So my question to you guys, Justin Jefferson has just been put on IR.
Yep.
And I've been here, and I've been seeing it on Twitter, and it's something that just makes sense to me. Do you think this is going to be the beginning of the Vikings tanking? Like, I could see Justin Jefferson then being like, you know what? You're the number one receiver in football. We're not going anywhere this year. Take the year off. Just get healthy. While they do that, they're going to be losing games. That's going to allow them to get the number one pick, or it's going to be fighting with the Bears to get the number one pick. So do you think we start to see the Vikings tank right now?
So there's two ways to look at this. All right. Lions fan Jeff, and then, show host Jeff.
Yep.
Unbiased.
Lions
fan Jeff says no, they should not tank. Keep Kirk Cousins, win 6 games, and fall in the middle of the first round, and then you won't get the quarterback we all are fearful of. Unbiased Jeff says tank and get Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
So but I don't want that to happen. But to be honest with you, in all seriousness, like if I'm the GM of the Vikings, it's over. Trade Kirk right now. Get him out of there. Stink. Find your quarterback, plug him into this offense, and fix your defense with a quarterback on a rookie deal.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the Minnesota Vikings have been one of the most disappointing teams. I mean, a lot of us saw this coming, but the fact that they were 13-4 and won a division last year and are now talking about tanking, that's quite a fall. If you look at their next 6 games, they got at Chicago, home versus San Francisco, at Green Bay, at Atlanta, home versus New Orleans, and at Denver. Those are their next 6. You could argue, I'm not necessarily saying that it would be, they might be slight favorites in a couple of them, that even with Justin Jefferson, they'd be underdogs in all 6 of those games. Without him, most certainly, because he is their best player by a country mile. So, yeah, tank, because you're staring down 1-10. You're staring down the barrel of 1-10.
Okay. JB, your opinions? Are the Vikings tanking or should they tank?
I mean, I kind of got to agree with Jeff for personal line reasons. No, they shouldn't tank.
Yeah, be mid.
As an NFL team, yes, you should probably be tanking. And I actually have a follow-up question for you guys. Who would you most likely fear more in the NFC North to get Caleb Williams, the Bears or the Vikings?
Vikings, because he put him as one of their preferred teams. And you'd get Justin Jefferson and Caleb, which...
Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison together? Yeah.
I
didn't even think about that, JB.
I didn't even think about that. Bears, I don't give it, because I know the Bears will mess it up.
Or the
somehow,
Patriots.
some way.
The Patriots might be worse than the Bears, for real.
Yeah, that's fair. Those situations I'm not fearful of, because I think a situation matters for a quarterback. It does. Although C.J. Stroud doesn't really care about that, does he?
Nico Collins.
He doesn't.
Nico
That's a good situation.
But regardless, though, if he's with the Vikings, I'm shooketh, because there's Kevin O'Connell, which I think is a damn good offensive coach, and you got weapons. Defense still has to be figured out, but no doubt I'd be more fearful of the Vikings getting Caleb Williams than I am the Bears.
I mean, that's all well and good, but what are the Vikings going to do about that defense? I understand that if they have a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal, they could add more pieces.
They could buy their defense.
I mean, most certainly. So I guess I would say the Vikings more or less because the Bears, and it just almost seems like an organizational thing, and I've said it many, many times, they just don't develop quarterbacks. Justin Fields, he's played well in the last couple of games. He might still break the curse. He might. He has more touchdown passes this season than Jared Goff. I'm not saying that to be a dick. I'm saying that to kind of show that Justin Fields has had his moments, but still, the Bears and quarterbacks just never seem to figure it out. And the Vikings, with that situation, I'd be worried, at least about their offense.
And I think the Bears hold on to Fields. They're gonna take that bait again.
Think they have to?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're not too far off there. I said that at the beginning of the year, and at the beginning I was like, they got to move off him. But you never know. If he keeps playing this way, at least for 3 more games, then I think they will. But a team that's not going to have to worry about is that the Detroit Lions, baby. And back to our conversation we just had. If the NFL were to stop right now, this would be the playoff picture. And this is why you re-sign Jared Goff right now if you can. If it stopped right now, obviously the 49ers get the bye. The Eagles and the Cowboys would be playing. You know who the Lions would be playing? The Atlanta Falcons. And the game under them, the Buccaneers and Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, this is not going to be how the season, how it finishes up with, the Falcons being the 6th seed and everything like that. It's going to change, but this should give you hope. This is what a potential playoff picture looks like for the Detroit Lions, because I think the top stays the same. I think the bottom might change. When you look at it, that's at least a playoff win, maybe even 2 at the bare minimum. So you guys look at this chart. What's your first opinion when you see it? And does it change your opinion on what Jared Goff can do with his team?
So what this would mean essentially is if you beat the Falcons, and then assuming the Eagles beat the Cowboys and then the Seattle Seahawks beat the Buccaneers, you'd be playing
Niners. Wait, no. If the Bucs won, they'd be playing the Niners. It'd be the lowest seed.
Yeah.
So we'd probably be playing the Eagles and Cowboys winner.
So again, there's a path. There's a path. I'm not saying, and you got to go on the road to Philly, so that's a tough place to play. But
I don't know, because this is at week 5. Like we said, I think the Lions finished with a better regular season than Philly.
Okay. Well, if you stick to it, then they got to come to the D, and things get.
Flip it, JB.
Come to Detroit. Damn it! I said, okay, come to Detroit. Come to the D, Detroit. There you go. Jesus, don't you dare, JB.
We already got one. What was the one from earlier, JB?
Don't you
I
don't
can't
you
even
dare.
remember the one for earlier, but I got to go back and watch.
But what do you think, JB, though, since we're on you? What do you think when you look at this? What's your reaction?
I mean, honestly, yeah, we're beating up on Atlanta easily, and then if we have to play Philly, which I think they'll easily take care of the Cowboys, that would be an interesting matchup. I think we kind of match up fairly well with Philly, and it would be a good kind of story to go off of. The Lions and Brad Holmes passed up for Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell. So it would be interesting.
Oh, my God.
That would be an interesting story to see.
The Jalen Carter fans for the Lions, if the Lions beat the Eagles at home and Jahmyr Gibbs goes crazy.
Run David Montgomery right at Jalen Carter.
Every time. This man right here. Look at him. Look at D-Mon. Look at him.
Yeah.
That's the man that's putting the Packers into the deathbed right there.
Yeah, that's my RB1. There you go. And Coach Walk says, and Swift. Don't forget about Swift.
Yeah, that's true.
So we have Swift
would be salty. Swift would definitely be salty.
Jahmyr
Swift only
Gibbs,
gets 50 yards. Wow.
I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs has already missed a game. And
No. I'm just saying the fact of just how sweet it would be for Lions fans.
Right.
For me, the people that just, when they hear the name Jalen Carter, it makes my ears bleed. Because it's you can go back and do that with Micah Parsons. You can go back and do that with any player in any draft. It's not the way it is, but it's every week. You see Jalen Carter? Yeah, I did. And I don't really care because he's not on the Lions and the Lions are winning games. So I don't care. I don't.
That's fair, but he is a legitimate candidate for defensive player of the year.
I'm not denying
Lucas. To your credit, I trust me. If you've been a fan of the show, I was talking about Jalen Carter for 5 months. It was tiring. I wanted Jalen Carter to the Lions. And then when the season started, I just kind of let it go. I tried to. I don't want to be that guy that keeps bringing it up. It's annoying. It just is. Even though it is factually correct, I wanted Jalen Carter. I'm done talking about it. So I just want to play him, run Jahmyr right at him, and we'll see what happens.
I don't know if that'll go well for Jahmyr, honestly. Because we might talk about it more. Jahmyr Gibbs, there are a few question marks, I should say. But you know what? That's all. The Lions are winning. They're winning football games.
And Flannel, this one's honestly, I found this, and this is just, Jeff, JB, feel free to answer. But I saw this and made me think of Flannel right away. I'm going to pull you up these stats.
Uh-oh.
I want you to tell me which quarterback, if you were starting a team right now, let's use one team. If you were the Chicago Bears and you had to pick one of these quarterbacks, who are you picking?
You're on the stand, Sam.
Because you don't dislike either of these players, but just you're the big stat guy, and I know that you like what you're seeing out of Josh Allen. I like what I'm seeing out of Trevor Lawrence. I know you like Trevor Lawrence, but who would you pick to start your franchise with?
I would pick Josh Allen.
You pick Josh Allen?
I get it that these numbers don't lie. I understand that. And Trevor Lawrence, after a very rough start to his career, has figured it out. Josh Allen, I think, he is the one guy in the NFL that I think can maybe approximate Patrick Mahomes' talent, and he's shown it. He's had a lot of success in the playoffs. I know they haven't always won, but what do I always tell you about that Bills-Chiefs game? He led his team to 36 points. He threw the game-winning touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown pass with 13 seconds left, and never got the ball back and lost. So I would still probably say Josh Allen.
Yeah, that's cool. Give me Trevor Lawrence. Give me who Nick Wright refers to as the Prince. Give me the Prince. Give me Trevor Lawrence.
Effer comes on air and has them playing trumpets for regular season wins. It's absurd. It's the most absurd thing ever. And I'm over the top, and I usually like Nick Wright, but come on, bro.
Yeah, you love Nick Wright that he's a Chiefs fan, Flannel. But JB, when you look at these stats, when you look at just what you've seen so far, you take in, and we're talking about just from here on out. Are you starting a franchise with Trevor Lawrence or Josh Allen?
From here on out, I probably got to go with Trevor Lawrence just because I just see a higher ceiling with him than Josh Allen is. No disrespect to him Josh Allen at all. Like, they're both good players, but yeah, I just kind of see a higher ceiling with Trevor Lawrence right now.
Okay. Well, that'll be it today, fellas, for What's Trending with Lucas. We'll be back tomorrow. Let's get in some mailbag.
Let's do it. Let me tell you about our friends over at Hamlin Pub first. Have you ever wanted to be at a bar where you're known as a regular? Well, Hamlin Pub is just the place for you. Head to one of their 7 locations and experience where everybody's a regular. Whether you're enjoying half-off pizza on a Thursday or game day specials available during all Michigan sports and NFL games, Hamlin Pub is the place. Visit location today and experience your new favorite pub for all things sports.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White & Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Let's go! Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Join Woodward Sports and Long Drink live every home game for the official Lions VIP tailgate party. It's at Eastern Market and Shed number 5, and it is always a bash. Starting at 9:30 a.m. until game time, the official Lions tailgate is back and better than ever. How would you like to pregame it with Woodward Sports and be treated like a VIP? Food, beverages, and entertainment all included. Get your tickets online today at bullseyeeventgroup.com or win some from Woodward Sports today. Just subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on IG, and direct message Lions VIP.
Morning Woodward Show mailbag. It's that time of the show, and Jesse will start off with his question. Mailbag. Guys, I saw an NFL Live clip show, the highest drop rate in the league, and it goes Ravens, Cowboys, Lions, Cardinals. Could you imagine if we clean that up? We're still scoring 25 points a week right now.
That's what I think, who sent that to us? Booner? When we looked at him, and he was like, that's not good. Like, yeah, it's not good, but it's kind of a good sign knowing that's going to get better. You know what I mean? Like, most of those, like, they had 3 straight drops in week 5. That's going to affect that percentage a lot last week.
Right.
So it's only going to get better. And the fact that I'm fine. Like, I don't care. It's a running football team. Their identity is power running.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to, like, it's kind of what I said about the Eagles. It's like, there's some things that are concerning offensively, but they're winning. Not playing their best football, so it's like the Lions. Like, they're all these drops, they're still winning, so it's a credit to them. For this comment, or this question too, and I wanted to get to this one. Where is it at here? Because it was a good question by Eric Allen. Mailbag, after seeing Frank Reich's presser yesterday talking about the owner being way too involved, can you see why Ben Johnson decided to opt out of the head coaching job to stay here? I don't know if that was all the reason, Eric. I think part of it was he mentioned he wanted to witness a playoff win, hopefully in Detroit. He likes the organization. Ben knows, listen, I'm a damn good offensive coordinator. There will be a job for him somewhere. And when you're like Ben Johnson and you're one of the more hot commodities, you get to kind of choose where you want to go. I'm not saying he's Sean Payton, but what I am saying is a lot of teams are going to reach out to him. But there is part of it where I do believe that maybe he got a little hint of how the ownership operates there. And I think ownership had an influence on who they took at quarterback, I think. Because Frank Reich was gassing up C.J. Stroud, and then they took Bryce Young.
Yeah.
So a little confusing there, but you know what? I still like Bryce a lot, but I think ownership has something to do with it.
I mean, yeah, and Ben Johnson, I think he will eventually get I know he'll eventually get a head coaching job, and it might be in a much better situation than Carolina. And, you know, you got to give Ben Johnson credit for kind of picking and choosing. I mean, maybe they offered Frank Reich over Ben Johnson, but I think if you actually do that right now, you're kind of a fool. I'm not saying Frank Reich is terrible or anything like that, but Ben Johnson, he's next. He's a guy that could be McVay or Kyle Shanahan. He could. That's his ceiling.
Yeah, that's fair. Justin Reese, mailbag. Is JJ content with possibly not being a top 10 QB pick this year and decides to come back next year with a tougher schedule to showcase himself better for 2025 draft?
I mean, I hope he does come back because it is a tough schedule, and J.J. McCarthy is going to go down as the best quarterback to ever play at Michigan. During his Michigan time, if I hear any more Tom Brady stuff, out of context Tom Brady stuff, I will scream. As a Michigan career, J.J. will end up having the best Michigan career of any Michigan quarterback ever. So if we can get him for another year, that would be phenomenal.
Okay.
Ryan Ermanni still thinks he's going to be the first quarterback drafted.
Dude.
Yeah.
He's going to be first round, though. Like,
He'll be
First round, yeah, I have no problem with that. But first quarterback off the board?
It's just, it's so maddening how now people just take pot shots at J.J. McCarthy anytime they want. Just because of one thing Ryan Ermanni said.
Well, okay, here's the thing. Like, that comment is so egregious, though.
It's not. It's egregious, but people are acting like it's the single worst thing said in the history of sports. If he's first round, then he's not that far off.
No. I'm not saying I'm saying number one.
I know,
but there's levels to this. Just when you have Caleb Williams potentially in the draft, even Michael Penix the way that he is looking.
Yeah, keep going. I mean, Drake May,
Shadur Sanders, and I'm saying Shadur and JJ are close. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna say that Shadur is better. I'm not gonna say that JJ is better. There's still a lot of time to go. But just to say that he's going to be the number one pick and like that makes my ears bleed more than Jalen Carter noise does.
Well, I mean, the thing they have in common is they're both great, and they're both going to be great NFL players.
I think the earliest JJ will go is in the 20s. Like, I don't know where this top 10 pick's coming from. I mean, maybe you could stick to that. I mean, we can visit this later, but like his floor, his ceiling, at least where he's getting drafted, would be like Kenny Pickett. Like getting drafted, Kenny had a hell of a season. Was drafted like 20th.
Yeah, but I think
like JJ, we're acting like JJ's like the next coming of who? Like,
but and this is where I counter a little bit.
Okay.
Nobody had any problems with saying that Anthony Richardson was going to be a top 5.
I didn't want that.
He was not a good college quarterback at any time in his career. It was all about his measurables. I think J.J. McCarthy has a better arm than Kenny Pickett. He has better mobility. He has better accuracy. And I think his ceiling is higher. Kenny Pickett, I think the absolute best you could hope for from Kenny Pickett is something like, I don't know, a slightly worse Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's talented.
Alex Smith, I think, is Kenny Pickett's best case situation.
But I think, like, less efficient, though.
Yeah. I don't think you're off with your Kenny Pickett, and, like, JJ is definitely a more talented quarterback, but the draft position, unless the one way I could see him going in top 10, which is a very possible situation, Bill Belichick. Is just if Bill Belichick is at, like, sitting at 5, and J.J. McCarthy's still there, I think that's the one way that he goes top.
And they would just
10.
Ruin another dude.
It'd be Mac Jones all over again.
Now, this question, too, and I'm going to ask this one. We'll get to a couple before we head out of here. Mailbag, Honolulu Blue Sparty. Should the Lions trade for a running back to back up Monty? Well, no, you have Jahmyr Gibbs. So
wait. So do you not believe in Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah, I don't know what that. You have Gibbs, so you should be all right. And then if not, you have a Craig. And
Craig?
Yeah,
you see him last week?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get a backup running back in. He scores a touchdown.
Craig.
Crazy how that works. Shout out to Craig though. Happy for him. Mike Bell says, blessings to all. Have a prosperous day, gang. Yeah, appreciate you guys for joining the show. We'll call it here. Another great show today. I know we had some technical difficulties for Ted there, but appreciate Ted for showing love and everybody else who was on the phone lines calling us. Until tomorrow, we'll be breaking down the game more in depth. We'll be previewing Sam Flannel's Chiefs taking on the Broncos.
Yeah, my Chiefs.
All that and more tomorrow. Appreciate you guys. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB, Lucas Klotz, Big D Energy, Ermanni Edwards Ramez, Heavies, and Woodward Knights to close out the rest of the day. Until tomorrow, we'll see you guys.